Less. It looked like less. All the pronounced straw and then
One of the kids that grew up, he lived right by me.
Check one.
You got a degree in philosophy.
Yeah, like, a couple of fishing houses, yeah.
And that's how he ended up getting into winemaking. He went to go back to school.
Started as a freshman, he got lucky.
They look pretty good. I watched a little bit of their game last night.
there you go. I mean,
One way or the other.
yeah, we get to it.
Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order at 6:05. And then roll call, please.
Want to do the pledge first?
Oh, sure. Yes, it's on there, isn't it? Okay. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, public comments. I don't see any public comment cards.
Should we do a roll call first?
Oh, yeah. I'm skipping ahead again.
Commissioner Becker.
Here.
Commissioner Roddick.
Here.
Commissioner Dutter.
Here.
Vice Chair Entner.
Here.
Commissioner Ford.
Here.
Sorry. Commissioner Firestone.
Here.
Got you mixed up there. Glad you're paying attention. Thank you.
Okay, so public comments. We don't have any comment cards.
I do not have any cards.
All right. Anyone? Okay.
A lot of public comments.
Do you want to have them now or during the item you're interested in?
Whatever.
Okay.
During the item I'm interested
Okay. So, first thing on our agenda is election of officers. Since Sunday has stepped down, we need a new chair. And since we're electing officers, we'll do chair and vice chair.
So typically at this point, you would ask for any nominations from the floor.
Okay. Are there any nominations from the floor?
I nominate Sage Entner for chair. Commissioner
I'll
chair.
second that.
Can I nominate myself for vice chair?
No.
I'd really rather not be chair at this point. Which is not helpful, but I'd be happy to continue on as vice chair. I would be happy to nominate Adam Dutter for chair, though.
I'll second that.
Do we have any other nominations
nominations?
for chair?
No.
So at this point,
We take a vote.
Vice Chair, if you could take a quick vote to
Okay.
close the nomination period.
All votes for Adam Dutter?
So if you wanted to be, technically, you should close the nomination period
Oh,
first.
sorry.
So if you could.
So I need a motion to close the nomination period.
Correct, right. A
Okay,
motion,
I
a
need
second.
a motion to close the nomination period.
I move to close the nomination period.
Okay. And then we need a second?
Second.
Okay, now we can do a call for
So
a
you,
vote.
so if you take a vote to close the nominations at this point.
Okay.
So all those in favor of closing the nominations?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Okay.
so now that's closed.
So now somebody could introduce a motion to elect Commissioner Dutter as chair.
Okay. I'll introduce a motion to elect Commissioner Dutter as chair. Now we need a second.
Second.
Okay, you have a motion and a second.
in
If there's
favor?
any further discussion, if not, you can go ahead and we'll take the vote. All those in favor of electing Commissioner Dutter as chair?
Aye. Or are we taking a roll call vote?
Well, discussion.
Discussion.
Can I ask Commissioner Dutter, are you interested in the position of chair?
Definitely.
If there's not any further discussion, go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. So we'll turn the gavel over to our new chair, Adam Dutter,
Okay.
and you can conduct the nominations and election for vice chair.
Now that we figured out the process.
Right, exactly, of course. So we'd like to open the nomination for vice chair.
I'll nominate Sage Entner as vice chair.
I'll second that. Okay,
So now we need a motion to close?
so motion to close
I
nominations.
move to close the nominations.
I'll second that.
Second that.
And then a vote for the closing of
And-
the nominations.
You vote on closing the nomination for vice chair?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. So, and we need a
Motion to
motion
elect.
to elect Commissioner,
A lot of steps, aren't there?
I know, to elect Commissioner Ittner as vice chair.
I move to elect Commissioner Ittner as.
That's what we just did.
No, we closed the discussion.
Close the nomination.
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 Oh, and now we have the vote, but first we have the discussion.
So moved.
Okay.
So we need a second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, so you're all set.
She was saying something was in her eye.
So congratulations.
That's right.
So we'll adjust the nameplates for the next meeting, and congratulations, Adam Dutter as our new chair, and Sage Entner will be continuing as our vice chair.
Sounds good.
Oh, good. All right. Now on to business.
Yes. Presentations? None. Police department report?
Hello, evening, congratulations on your elections.
That we made it through.
That was good. We've had a change in our computer system that we're using with the sheriff's department, so I can no longer run past history of reports or calls for service. The way the system started, it's from that date forward. So what I thought I'd do, just in the meantime, until we build some data, talk about some of the recent arrests we've had in and around the parks and some stuff of interest that you might find interesting. The only thing we've had at Libby, kind of surprising, we've had one arrest. It was a mutual battery. But ultimately, no prosecution was desired by either party, so nobody went to jail. No arrests at Clough Vista or Zarzoti. But in the arcade, and I included the arcade just because it's downtown, it's near the parks, you get a lot of the same people at the arcade that you do in and out of the parks. We've had 3 arrests there recently. 2 of them were drinking in public, and 1 being too intoxicated, public intoxication. The other one we were pretty excited about, though, was, and when I say that is when you hear what the story, but it was out of the farmer's market in that area downtown. Gentleman left his car unlocked. Unfortunately, if there's anybody watching, we are trying to hammer this home. Please don't leave your stuff unlocked in plain view. But he did. Really nice man, but left his fanny pack there. But he had some items in there besides the money and the credit cards. His father was a retired New York PD officer. He had his dad's retired badge, extremely sentimental to him. And in there, he carries it's handwritten notes between his parents. I don't want to say they were love notes, but and both of his parents are deceased, so they're extremely sentimental pieces to him, and he carries them with him. So anyway, this guy, of course, not from this area, a gentleman who lives out of town, was up here cruising around and sees that in plain view around 11 o'clock in the morning, decides that'd be great, that property should be his now, and takes it and leaves. Our detectives did some really good follow-up because he was using the credit cards and tracking them all through Oxnard and Ventura. And we found out the part about the emotional or the sentimental stuff. We really, not that we don't do it with everybody, but we really wanted to try and get that stuff back. Mm-hmm. So long story short, we were able to identify him with the public's help. We put out a press release. I don't know if you guys saw it or not. We got some really good information from people in the community, and not necessarily from Ojai, but because it goes out all over the place. We're able to identify him, actually arrest him. He admitted to the theft, and we're able to recover the property. So it all worked out really well. Yeah, it worked out good, but it's in that downtown area, and I kind of just wanted to mention it because we keep getting, and I know it sounds like a broken record, but a lot of the thefts we get are stuff that's just left right out there in the open, unlocked vehicles, unlocked houses, which takes me to another arrest that we had Monday morning, Sunday night into Monday morning. It was a prowling arrest right here in the Arbolada. Now it's a little bit out of the park stuff, but since we're talking about unlocked cars, 4 o'clock in the morning, a local resident, he's out going car to car through the neighborhood there, checking unlocked doors. He'd already hit one car, gotten some money, some personal property. He was at the next house, and the resident heard him, looked outside, saw the flashlight, went out, confronted him, chased him. His wife calls, and we were able to actually got lucky and detained him because he got lost, I think, in the Arbolada. It's dark.
And it's a little dark there, too.
It's very dark.
That can happen.
And he does live in town. So anyway, it was good for us, bad for him. But we did arrest him. And I just kind of wanted to reinforce that if, anybody's listening or you put it in the minutes, it was both those cars were unlocked, but fortunately it worked out for us that we were able to arrest him. And then the skate park, we have had 4 arrests there recently. 2 drinking alcohol in public, 1 public intoxication, where the person was just way beyond where they should be out in public. And the other one that really was at least concerning for me, and I wanted to mention it to you guys, he's a local 290 registrant, sex offender, and he's hanging out there, middle of the day. There's a bunch of kids there. They're all riding skateboards. I actually went over when I heard the call because it caught my interest, of course. But what had happened is our sex crimes unit had lost track of him because he wasn't registering. He had left where he was staying. They didn't know where he was at, so a warrant had been put in the system because he was loose and we didn't know where. And one of our deputies was just driving down Ojai Avenue and looked over and saw him, knows him by face and name, was able to detain him. But it was a little concerning, that he's hanging out at our skate park with all the kids there. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. But they did a good job, arrested him, got him out of there.
And now he's registered.
And now he's registered, yes. Well, he was registered. He's always been registered, but we didn't know where he was. We like to keep track of them, where they're at. So he's a registered sex offender, but we just didn't know where he was staying. So he had moved. So anyway, if you guys have any comments, I don't really have any. Oh, one other thing I'd like to tell you about. We didn't get a press release out, but it's a good thing for Ojai in general. A little bit off topic. But yesterday afternoon, we developed information that we possibly had a couple hikers overdue out of the Reyes campground area, which is due north of us here near just off Lockwood Valley Road. Do you guys, pardon me? Ozine area there. So we got it going here at the station, and with our Lockwood deputies, it kept evolving. But ultimately, we activated the Upper Ojai, or the Ojai Search and Rescue Team. Got a really good response from them. Got them up there. And as we kept developing information, we learned that this couple had gone out on Sunday. And yesterday, of course, being Wednesday, so we knew we had a 4-day window. And the more we looked at it and investigated and kept turning stuff over, they had no food, limited clothing, only a bottle of water that they left with. The gentleman was in his 80s, and the woman was in her 60s. But I have to tell you, they're probably in better shape than all of us here. I hate to say it, but even the 80-year-old was amazing. But just before dark, we found the female, and she had some medical conditions, and she was done. She was either going to stay there till someone found her or till she passed away. And it was day 4 without food. They've been drinking water out of the creeks to stay alive, and believe it or not, there's still a little bit of water up there. The 80-year-old amazingly forged on trying to go get help.
Were they lost?
Yeah, they've been lost since Sunday. Yeah, they'd gone out Sunday just for a short little hike. The long story was what we finally figured out when we got them both. Avid campers, go up there all the time, stay for a week to 2 weeks sometimes, but never go hiking. And nobody knew that. So they finally decided, let's go for a hike and see what it's like. And they got off trail, but of course there was nobody to report them overdue or missing. Our initial report came in through a transient who thought they might be missing. So it took us a little while to put it together, but by yesterday afternoon, we were pretty confident that we had 2 people possibly missing in the wilderness. So where they ended up, they were in a real rocky, steep terrain. You couldn't walk out of there. So right at dark, we called for the helicopter out of Camarillo. We were able to do a pretty risky hoist rescue with the helicopter. They were wearing night vision goggles. We got her out, got her to Henry Mayo Hospital, and it took us about 2 more hours to find him because he was probably another kilometer ahead of us. But the terrain's so difficult to hike through. But it was the Ojai guys who found him, so I thought you might enjoy that. It was the Ojai volunteer search and rescue guys who actually found both of them. And then we got him out by helicopter and then got them both paired up at the hospital late last night. So anyway, it's a good story for Ojai. It was good business for Ojai.
Impressive.
Yeah, we were happy and it's a big deal for the volunteer groups. I mean, to actually get out there and find somebody. And those 2 most likely would have not, at least in my opinion, and I did that job for a number of years, probably would not have survived at their age. And they still had days to go before they hit, any type of civilization. So I don't think they would have made it. And where they were out of water too, so. Anyway.
That was a good outcome.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
It didn't make it out on a press release day, so I thought I'd share it with you.
Yeah.
We were pretty stoked about it. So, anyway.
Well, I want to compliment you on your, the back to the burglar case you're talking about. That was across the street from me.
Oh.
And I believe you responded to the call from the person that heard him out front.
I actually went over there in the morning. Yes, I did.
Well.
The deputies went there that
What I'm
night.
saying is you got the guy right down the street.
Yes.
So you got there quick.
Yeah, we got.
You must
and I
have
don't know
gotten
if he
there
got.
very quick.
That's why I say I don't know if he got lost or turned around because he was only about 5 houses down.
Right.
So it could be luck, but they were close though.
Well, you had to be quick.
Yeah. So the city guys and we only have 2 cars out at night, but they were there very quick, so that worked out well.
Yeah.
You live in that general area?
Yeah, right across the street from me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I went out the following morning to meet him and talk to
Right.
him just to see the really nice people. So.
Yeah, I talked to him that
Yeah.
morning.
Oh, good.
Good news all around. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Yeah, very good.
All right, take care. Have a good holiday weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.
All right, next is Public Works update.
Well, we decided that Mr. Grant's been working pretty hard, so we try to give him the night off. He did check in with me right before the meeting, so he's still very, very mindful of everything that's going on. In terms of Public Works report, and we'll talk a little bit more later on the agenda on that item about the Libby Park Playground, because that's a lot of what Mr. Grant is working on right now. But just one quick thing that I wanted to mention, and it seems like a good time to bring it up here in the Public Works update. The city has determined to turn back on the fountains that we have downtown. We'll be issuing a press release on that tomorrow. Ultimately, we feel that the other actions that we've taken to try to conserve water in the city, we've reduced watering even at the playing fields by about a third. We've turned off water at a lot of landscaping areas. You can see the lawn out in front of City Hall here. We've eliminated doing the regular pressure washing of the sidewalks downtown and just gone to spot or sanitary cleaning. So we're pretty confident that the measures that we've been have been effective in trying to reduce significantly the water use of the city. And in looking a little further into the fountains, which are all recirculating, didn't really feel that there was much of a significant water savings there by keeping those off. And felt that the value that they provide to the downtown and the aesthetic quality and the tourist and the local experience outweighed what very little water we were saving off of that. So we are issuing a press release on that, but just wanted to pass that along. And then at the same time, we're also doing other measures to try to actually do some additional watering in other areas to try to address some of the highly stressed trees and some of the mature oak trees and whatnot. So. And that continues to be a battle as we fight through the drought. Beyond that, I don't have anything further for the Public Works update.
Thank you. Next is the approval of minutes from the August 6th meeting, regular meeting. Everybody read them. Is there a motion to approve them? Yeah.
I move to approve the August 6th regular meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Anybody opposed? Roll call.
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you.
The bike park concept update.
So we have put this back on the agenda. Staff gave a fairly brief update. I know we had a bit of a discussion at it on this topic at our August meeting, but we did not have a opportunity to hear from any of the representatives and folks who are supporting the bike park. So we did put this back on the agenda for tonight so that we could hear from them and get a little bit of an update and perhaps have a little further discussion from the Parks Commission. And I'll try to recap a little from where we are, where we've been, where we are today. As everybody in this room, I think, well knows, the original concept was to try to do something on the school district property Unfortunately, that fell out as an option, and since that time, we've been working with the Ojai Valley Bike Coalition to try to identify a suitable site that would be good for a bike park or pump track, if you want to get a little more specific. And what we did is we really tried to pull back to the 35,000-foot level and try and look around at town and try to see what property would work for a park like that, and really trying to keep in mind a more centralized location so that it would be accessible to folks. We also felt that having access to a public bathroom was very critical, and also safety concerns and whatnot as well. And then for, I guess, fairly obvious reasons, we really focused looking at lands that were owned by the city, since that's property that we already control, would not need to acquire or lease or whatnot. Liability concerns, whatnot, since it's beyond our property, all things that we could be addressed. So long story short, going through that analysis, as I think you all well know, the location that seemed to be the best in terms of meeting all those criteria is the Lower Libby parking lot. Since that time, we've reached out to a couple of potentially affected groups, including the tennis association and also the local residents. And again, not to dwell too much on that tonight, but I think we largely felt the response from the tennis folks was that it was something that they could work around. And not too surprisingly, we did hear some concerns from the people who live directly in the neighborhood, who are obviously concerned about, noise, traffic, and those types of issues, and perhaps affecting their quality of life. And that's really where we are at this point. So we wanted to bring this back to the commission for discussion, but really wanted to give Ms. Green here an opportunity to address the commission and give an update and then have that discussion. So thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize for not being here at the last meeting. I misunderstood and thought I was just coming in and signing a piece of paper to be a public speaker. I didn't know it was on the agenda.
Not a problem.
And something much better came up.
Well,
so.
welcome back.
Just kidding. So I'm so sorry. But basically, like Steve said, we've been working really hard to find a location. And we don't as a team feel like we've completely given up on the school district site either, because it is also an ideal location. And there are some new school board members which may be in favor of it. So we're going to bring that back to the table also. And then as far as the Libby Park location, yeah, there's a few people who would be upset, but it really literally is a handful of people. And the idea that a dirt skate park or a dirt bike park is going to make a lot of noise is silly. There's not going to be a lot of noise except screaming and joyful and, kids telling each other to try harder or whatever. So I think it's still an ideal location. It's right off the bike trail. It's safe for the kids to get to. There's parking for parents. There's bathrooms already. It's a really underutilized area. The city already owns the spot. There couldn't be an actually more ideal location except for behind the skate park, which would be the most ideal because that's where the kids are playing. In fact, I drove by the skate park today and saw one of the regular skateboarders riding a BMX park bike doing tricks. So those kids do kind of intermingle and share sports. So it would be really neat if they're together. My son came up with an idea that might be a nice temporary fix to the solution, which would have to do with Sarasota, but the parking lot near Field 1 at the end of it by the old Boy Scout, is that still a Boy Scout thing?
Well, they no longer.
Okay.
The Quonset hut.
The Quonset hut. So that end of the parking lot where there used to be some dirt jumps the kids would play on, he was saying, what if we were to fence off that area and just do like a makeshift play yard for bikes where you have like rails and ramps that you could move and put in a shed. And so I thought that'd be a really good idea because a lot of the BMXers do really just love doing tricks. And that's why the draw to the skate park is so big, is because they can jump out of the ramps and do tricks. So that might be a really, get some local people just to build a couple ramps on wheels. They do it at the church over across from the coffee shop in Miners Oaks once a month for the kids, and it's awesome. And there's probably 50 to 100 kids that show up and just ride. They skateboard, they scooter, and they bike together, which is kind of a concept I'd like to see more of. So, and then I emailed Steve about this, and I'm not sure he wants me to talk about this yet, but Governor Davis just signed into legislation, which is going to happen. Davis? Brown. Sorry, I was thinking Davis. Governor Brown just signed some legislation for California, which goes into play January 1st, changing the law behind the skate parks to allow bikes in them. And so that doesn't necessarily mean every city is going to follow that. It just gives the liability different wording, because they're having this isn't the only city we're having this problem in where the skate parks aren't sharing with the bikes. It's every city, and so they're changing that so that they can share.
Are they changing the laws governing, are they making BMX a dangerous sport so that it goes on the list with skateboards?
Yeah.
It's okay. So they're not doing anything directly related to skateboards?
They're not telling skate parks you have to let bikes in, but they're rewriting the law so that bikes and skateboards can share the same park, so they're categorized as the same sport.
So they're categorized exactly the same sport, or they're just putting the BMX on the dangerous sport list?
I'll have to reread it.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious, because they define, I know that the reason the liability issues with the skateboarding is cleared up by the fact that it's been designated
Yeah.
hazardous recreational sport. So are they,
So it might have to do with that.
designated that, or are they just?
It has to
becoming
do with the conflict going on, and I'll look
Okay.
further into
All right,
it.
I'm
But
just
I thought it was
curious.
exciting, and I
Yep.
just found out about it, so
But it's changing the liability structure for that.
it's changing something so that,
All right.
because more and more skate parks are sharing. And so, I know that's not necessarily a fight the city wants to have right now, is allowing bikes in the skate park or bike hours, but it's something that I don't think we should overlook completely. I think it's really important I think that there's a handful of adult skaters that are creating the problem, whereas when you have just the kids down there playing, they're not really fighting with each other. They're just playing. So, does anyone have any questions before I get going on my tangents and my opinions? Which I'll try not to do.
So you guys are still meeting, still organizing.
Over the summer, we lost touch with each other, and I'm having a hard time. I'm having a really hard time getting the group back together. I'm really happy to know that you guys listed the bike park as a priority, and so that will light the fire for some people again. We've been meeting with Steve. I've been meeting with Steve throughout the summer, but the team itself has just become Ben and myself,
Okay.
and maybe a handful of people from the mob shop. So we do need to do, Sunday wants to help us. Shane, Shane-O from the skate park, he actually wants to help us too. So,
Okay.
I thought it would be great if the skaters could team up because the whole community rallied behind the skateboarders to get the park built for the skateboarders. So I think that it would be nice to do the same for the bikers.
Can I ask, have you asked them what their opinion on is allowing bikes into their area?
Yeah,
Are they for
they're
it?
absolutely against it.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, I think it's good to hear you guys are still working. I think we did have a brief discussion of the location last time, which was that it isn't eliminated from our perspective, I think was really what we were talking about, that the concerns that were some we could mitigate, others, though valid, wouldn't change the appropriateness of the site because of its location and proximity to the bike path.
Right.
And the bathroom. So I think the general discussion here is that from our commission standpoint, we don't see that as being ruled out, and we actually see it as a very ideal site.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
I don't think beyond that, do you think there's more discussion?
Doesn't sound like it right now. I do agree that we shouldn't take it off, joint use of the skate park, but I firmly support, its own venue.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great, and I actually think the lower levee would be perfect.
It would be great. It would require less work
It's
too
next
than
to the
the
bike
behind the
path.
skate park.
Steve,
well.
what was the purpose for not allowing bikes in there before? I know there was some talk about that. What was it?
Well, wear and tear was always, the majority of the issue for us was wear and tear and coping and not being able to maintain it. It'll break down. It wasn't built properly to accommodate the bikes with the type of coping on the edges. And this is me this is hearing all the discussions over time.
Yeah.
But that we didn't build it in a way that it'll be safe for the park. It'll break the park down if the bikes are in there. That's my understanding. Beyond any of the other interactions or any of that, really the biggest reason not to do it is because we don't want the park to deteriorate. But Steve,
There were also some concerns expressed by the skate community about just the compatibility of the uses.
Yes, at the same time.
I remember the one thing that got mentioned several times by folks as a concern was, how the scooters operate and do their type of tricks, and how they felt that was a conflict and a danger to the skateboarders.
But
I
the
know- I
uses
know
are
that
different,
was
and the lines are different, and
expressed
the
by
way that
some
you're,
folks.
yeah, the way you're using it, but, and I think that the other thing that comes into play then is you do talk about hours and sharing if you get beyond the maintenance issues, but then you're talking about staffing. And so it becomes a much more complicated issue, because we're pretty much decided we're not interested in staffing. At this point, has been where we've come down on things, so I think the first issue was it would be too much wear and tear on the park. The second was safety, which is both users are not compatible at the same time. So then you'd have to go to specific hours, which then gets into the staffing issue, whether you're staffing or not staffing, and where your liability lies. Because when you staff, you have more liability than when you don't staff.
Right. But with those arguments, there is no additional wear and tear from bikes. It's rubber tires, it's not, if you go to skate parks across California, they're all sharing, and there's no problems. And the wear and tear, if you make sure the bikes have, if the bikes have metal pedals, that could cause some damage, but they use plastic pedals and plastic pegs, and there's no problem.
How are we gonna?
It's a
It just comes
monitoring
down
issue.
to
Exactly.
yeah.
It becomes more complicated.
Yeah.
Because skateboards inherently are okay in there. Nothing about them is going to cause wear and tear, but there are issues with depending on the equipment the kids are using.
Well, it's just sad that we haven't been able to come up with something and get them forward. I think, though, that this will be a great incentive for the skateboard group to back you and find you a place.
Yeah, and I think they agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they agree. Sunday's one of them.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
I think there's universal support for the
There
bike
is,
across.
And I think the problem with the bike park right now, the only problem is just finding a location and getting moving on it. I think everybody supports it. You guys have said it multiple times. The community supports it. We've got to find a spot and maybe worry less about people's feelings. I know part of me not fighting the school district harder was I was worried about hurting Hank's feelings, because I work with him on another level. And I am to the point where I want to stop worrying about people's feelings and more about, like, let's get a bike park for the kids already. This is ridiculous. So.
Could we discuss the process here? Like, I mean, how is this going to, yeah.
Oh,
Like,
sure.
How are we going to get to?
I was actually
proposing this?
going to address that, and I want to make this very clear. Because staff isn't operating under any direction. We don't have any direction from city manager. We don't have any, well, we have direction from city manager to work with the Bike Coalition to try to address locations and try to come up with a good location. Beyond that, we don't have any direction. We don't have any direction from city council on the project. We don't have any funding for the project. So I think, not to put the pressure back on the Bike Coalition, but I think that's really where it lies at this point in terms of, the community and how we define that, your group, whomever, I think to come forward with some type of a proposal on where you think it would best fit. And staff, we're more than willing to work with you in terms of trying to work out the nitty-gritty details of getting a proposal to the point where it could be presented, first, I would think ideally to the Parks Commission, then ultimately the City Council. But I think at this point, that's probably the next best step to take, if you feel that you're comfortable. I mean, because I can't make that call for you, and certainly the commission can give their feedback. As you well know, and I think part of the thing that makes this a potentially very strong project is the group basically talking about coming in and largely doing the construction. I know we've talked about possibly needing some city funds, and I know the Parks Commission has certainly expressed some support for that. But I guess until we have a location that we want to try and focus on and move forward
Well,
on.
then maybe let's just use what we have a professional rendering of the Libby Park. It's already designed completely. It's ready to go to city council. We already have everything set up for that. We have a construction guy in town who's going to do
Right.
the work.
So
Ojai Lumber donating them dirt.
I think it's your call, much like if somebody wanted to come to city council to,
Well, I think we could agendize
Do
it
some
again,
project or
bring all
whatnot.
We could agendize it again, and you bring the drawings.
Okay.
And whoever's going to work on it back here, and then we recommend it
Okay.
out of our commission to city council.
To council,
I think
right.
you would go to council too, but our commission could recommend the project as something we support.
And we've been to this point before, but then it was turned around with the school district, so we'll do it again. And we haven't gone to city council yet, because I was under the impression that we have to start here.
Right. I
So city
understand.
council, I don't even know if they're aware of anything.
They are, and I think it'd be safe to say that the city council would probably not feel comfortable acting on something without a recommendation from the Parks Commission.
Yeah, that's what I was-
But
that's what I
that's
thought.
ultimately city council's call, but,
And Steve.
so I'm just saying, I think that might be your best route to go
Okay.
in terms of trying to get the most support and try to vet it as much as possible.
I think,
Let me just say, maybe more than just the drawing and the
That's what I was gonna
rendering,
say.
but
We need a concept.
formal proposal of,
Exactly.
this
What-
is how it's gonna be paid for.
Right.
Uh,
This is what it will cost.
What it
a
will
complete
cost. This
project
is-
breakdown, on
Okay.
how you're
Yeah.
gonna, how it's gonna, and bring that to us.
Okay.
Because we're basically just reviewing drawings.
Right.
We don't know how much we want to spend.
Right.
We don't know how much you're going to spend, or your group is going to spend, so we're gonna need a detailed budget of how it's gonna, and then we can recommend on that to the city council that they approve or something.
And actually, we have, in essence, presented this at our joint meeting to city council. So it won't be the
Okay.
first time they've heard of it.
Right.
Because when we discussed our prioritization and allocating money for that project, that came up at our joint meeting, so.
Correct.
Just, the other thing is safety issues too, because even in the two groups that we did meet with, they talked about that as being not safe.
What
Whether
two
it's
groups are you referencing?
The OVTC, the tennis club, and the.
Meaning like
residents.
jumps that are accessible at night?
No, the actual driveway, the blind corner, the blind curve that's there. and
Well, I think
the-
until we have a
walkway.
formal proposal, I'm
Well,
not sure.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
to
right.
include in the
But, you know,
proposal how you might address those issues.
Right.
Yeah, but that's something that's been there for as long as Libby's been there. I don't feel like we should have to
Right.
go there
No,
with that.
But if you're gonna put a park there, you might want, you're gonna need to consider
I think you bring the
safety
plan,
issues.
and you
Yeah.
bring the numbers, and you
Okay.
come back, we'll get it on the agenda.
It's
and-
not a big budget. It's
And we'll,
dirt.
and we'll
Yeah.
review it as a commission.
Right.
And then we will make a recommendation to council, or
Okay.
we will come back to you with, maybe we want more information,
Okay,
because that would, might happen.
Yeah, I would.
All right.
Depending on what the package looks
we
like.
can do it
I would
again.
think we'd want to include, liability. How is the city going to be?
Staff can address those
You
questions.
can. Okay.
And then the other thing that would be good would be just a project timeline. It doesn't have to be to the day, or
Yeah.
we know those things vary over time, but, in terms of, here's how long would to construct and everything, and prepare the site and whatnot. Also, we should probably briefly address in there the site preparation that we would need to do, because I think we would need to take up that first level of asphalt.
Right.
And then also, I think you should need to propose some type of duration, what's your timeline?
Like
for
how
the-
long we want to be there, you mean?
Right, right, or at least a minimum.
Well, we want to take over Libby Park. Just kidding. Okay, I'm kidding.
Gotta save room for the community pool.
Okay.
That's going in your
Right
yard.
next to those oak trees.
Yeah, I was going to encourage you to address that blind curve. I mean, it does seem like that if there's relatively few concerns, and that was a big one. So it seems like it would behoove your proposal to, if you
How would
could-
we address, I guess I'm just a little confused on how we address
Having
that.
not
Like,
seen
isn't
your
that a city?
design, I don't even know how it
Yeah.
factors into it at this point.
Well, there's there's the two entrances to the parking lot, and one of them going down towards Creek Road
Maybe
is a
require
blind
fencing.
corner. You mean so when the kids ride down the hill, is that what the concern is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
fencing, something that would keep them from riding that way and riding into traffic.
yeah, except that it's a driveway.
Yeah, no, I think.
is, but-
We'll
if
have to do some
You're gonna
thinking
have
on
the
that.
park, and I think just come with the plans that you have, show us what your plan is. Because
Okay.
I don't think discussing it now is gonna be that
Right,
helpful anyway, we
you're
don't have
right.
information.
Yeah.
And I think it's a road, and kids need to behave in a certain proper way, and they know that.
But I
I think
think-
putting an expectation, I think you design the park so the park is very specific and they understand where the boundaries are. That's what you can do.
And we could put in there that we request Public Works help us with some kind of safety signage or turning lane or, I don't know, I'll have to do
I
some
think what
research, I have no
Commissioner
idea.
Speed
Firestone
bumps.
is saying is just.
Yeah, something
that's
safe.
going to discourage
conscious that
them
it'll-
Yeah, at
from
least
going
think about
Yeah.
it, because it is
Okay.
gonna come up
Yeah.
Okay.
again, so.
It'll make your proposal stronger.
We're gonna put teeth,
That's right.
tires
There you
pop.
go.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Toby. Okay.
Anybody have anything else on that?
No, I think
Good.
so, it's just a future
Okay.
agenda item.
Next on the agenda is the Sarasota Master Plan Report.
I do, I'm sorry, I do have something.
Yes.
I think that we need to make it perfectly clear that we are not doing the proposal for them, or we're just not going to give them a site, and then they take it over. It has to be something that is basically very formatted in how it's going to work and how it's going to function. It just can't be a rogue Rogue Park. I think that that'll just tie it up even further down the process. With us getting that information and a nice design, we don't even have to have a design, just how is this concept? How is it going to work? How are you going to prove it to us that it's going to work?
I
Yeah.
mean, the hours that the park is gonna operate.
Right.
Well, whatever
Maintenance,
the-
Just-
right.
If we have a
know
list
it's
of
gonna
items
be
though, let's write them
unsupervised.
down right now and give them to them, so that we're setting them up for success for next time.
Right.
So if we want to know what hours, and we want to, let's make a list of what we want to know from them, so that when they come, they can be prepared.
Yeah, some of that they provided to us in the past,
I
but,
thought we've seen
but,
some of this.
yeah,
If we could do that, if we could make sure before they come next time to,
absolutely.
That would be
It
great.
seems like
Yeah.
us,
I'd like
so,
to see them come and at least, I understand now about the skate park. And I would have to really think hard about that, because I don't want to ruin something that's there and everything. But I understand that these kids, it's a different lifestyle. They ride bikes and scooters. So we do need to work as hard as we can to try to find them a resolution and a solution.
yeah.
I think also we can work iteratively with them. You know, if they come up with a half-baked proposal, we can give them feedback and they can come back a month or two later.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's not kind of intimidating that we have a big list of demands, but, you know, start with what they have and we can give them feedback on what else.
But they should come in, yeah, with
They-
all
they
the
should.
boxes ticked for your normal park operation, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they have to come in with they can't just, 4 or 5 items, and then we give them, then that means another week. If they come in with, and if they're talking to a professional, so. that
Yeah.
sounds
like it, yeah.
No, they have some,
So
experts
they
on
will
their-
be
in
able
their
to
group.
give
Yeah.
them, I'm just curious why the one in Ventura was shut down. Do we know?
which one was shut down, the Kimball one?
Yes.
They,
It wasn't anything related to operation-wise, or was it?
no, I'm trying, I heard what the issue was and I'm trying to, and I've
But
forgotten what it
Fillmore
was.
just
There
put one in,
was,
right?
Yeah, Fillmore
Yeah,
just
Fillmore
completed
did.
one.
So
Yeah.
Ventura
Fillmore
closed
has
theirs,
theirs.
Fillmore
Yeah.
put theirs.
yeah, that was, I guess technically a BMX park, the one, and it
Oh.
was being run through like a franchisee who was a nonprofit. And I don't,
So it's totally different.
I
That's the
hate,
Kimball one.
yeah, I
They had
hesitate to speak.
Races on the weekend, and it was a lot of
was
organizing.
They had some
Big,
issue with
big
their
thing.
parent organization, if I remember correctly, but don't
Okay.
quote me on that. It's been a month or so since I read the article.
Yeah, it was sad to see.
But it was right after they had that event out there where, I'm not kidding you, it seemed like there was every motorhome in the western United States had arrived
People
in
were traveling,
Ventura.
they were traveling to compete.
Yeah,
They were-
I was stunned by the turnout at that. It was packed. I mean, it was just packed. So there is a lot of popularity for it, so. But we will certainly work with them, and I
think-
heard I heard the comments tonight, and I'll follow up with an email to Toby and
I
Ben
think
and the
that's great.
group.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff is, I mean, what we've covered before, and I think, and in their defense, we got kind of off track, just trying to settle on the perfect location, which, probably is
And I
not going to
think
fall from the
Ryan's
sky.
right on asking, how are we going to do this? Because I think a lot of times we get lost because we don't understand what our next steps are, here and for them, and we're not clear with them where they need to go, so I think,
And I think this will help bring their group back together
yep.
after the summer and everything, with some direction.
Would it help to have a liaison from the commission?
I think it's a
I
great
think-
idea.
We
Wouldn't
kind of
hurt.
have a sense of what we'd like to see.
I think it's a good idea.
Sure.
We had
that's fine.
liaisons on the skate park when we went through that process.
Guess what, Mr.
I
Firestone?
don't, are you volunteering?
Yeah,
Okay, do we need
I
to
will.
nominate and vote on this, or this is just nothing that formal?
Well,
Sorry, I should be asking you that.
It doesn't
Yeah,
seem-
it's just an informational fact.
It doesn't seem
finding,
formal,
so-
right?
yeah, I probably wouldn't want to take action since it's not on the agenda, but more than happy to work with Commissioner Firestone.
Okay,
Yeah, just
excellent.
include me
Yeah.
if you're,
Uh-huh. I don't think there's any problem. I mean, we could include the whole commission on that, but I don't think that's what you're asking for, so, be happy to do that.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Ryan, that'd be excellent if you'd represent us.
That's great.
I'll do my best.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Sarasota Master Plan report.
So,
Which meeting we had?
last Saturday, we had our outreach meeting. We were definitely disappointed in the turnout. However, I have to say that although we were not too happy with the turnout, I think the outcome was really good.
Very productive.
We ended up breaking into 2 focus groups. I thought there was very enthusiastic participation by a number of people from, I think, a variety of backgrounds that brought a lot of things to the table there, literally. So over the course of the 2 hours, we reviewed the survey results, and then, like I said, broke into a couple groups there, really for people to kind of come up with their vision for what they'd like to see and out there for the park, and what kind of facilities or improvements that they would like to see there. So after the two groups broke apart, then we came together and we compared notes, and it was rather shocking. There was a lot of similarities between the plans in terms of maybe how we could shift some things around to maximize the space in the park and make it a little more safe, a little more accessible to everybody. And of course, we're trying to see how we might be able to fit in some future amenities like an outdoor basketball court. So, but there was some interesting concepts in terms of trying to, I think, eliminate what we consider to be some of the dead space in the park, which I think is probably best described as the northeast corner, kind of out and away from the picnic area there, is a bit underutilized. And very interesting, different concepts on what to do with the southern portion of the park there. One concept completely, I think, eliminated the parking there and tried to fit some additional, I think that was where we were talking about putting the futsal park,
That's all, yeah.
which is kind of a playing surface that you could do a lot. It's a harder playing surface that you could do everything from indoor soccer type to volleyball to, there's some other suggestions there. So long story short, we would have liked to see another 50 people there, but I think we did get some excellent participation and some good ideas flowing. So our consultant, Community Works Design Group, is going to take those concepts and develop them and put something together that we can present at the October Park and Recreation Commission meeting. So they're busy at work on that in this month, and we'll be able to present that to you next month for your comments and thoughts. And we're keeping the survey open for a little bit longer. I'll have to check and see what the cutoff date is on that, but if you're interested, you can still go to SurveyMonkey and fill that out, or you can get a hold of the hard copy and do it that way. It seemed like everybody used the SurveyMonkey, which was nice. And other than that, I that's all I have to report. Can't think of anything else.
And it sounds like they'll present us with two variations of the plan. It sounds
I
like
thought they were
That's what they
combining
said.
them.
Well, they said they'd provide two plans.
two plans to look at, which is
I
nice.
think so. Right.
And the survey, we're hoping as many people as possible will continue to participate. We'd like to increase the number of people participating in it and maybe the diversity of the sample. So we're hoping to continue to get people to come toward that. So.
Oh, we'll definitely send out another email blast reminder and admitting something today that we just discovered, which was pretty unfortunate in our own database, was that those mass emails we've been sending, and I don't know if you guys receive them
I get 'em.
regularly. What we realized is, and it's been quite some time, surprisingly, finally just realizing it, but they were not going to non-resident.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Weird.
Somehow it had filtered
there was
them out somehow.
some sort of glitch. Well, it wasn't really a glitch. You have to have your lists
Right.
correctly selected, and unfortunately, it was just selected for residents.
Oh, no.
We didn't. It would say all. It would say all. Yeah,
And
it
I
would
get 'em.
say all
Yeah.
customers,
Okay.
but you have to go into
A different place
It's
and
a
make sure.
longer
Oh.
story, but.
Well, I'm glad you
as
discovered it.
As it turns out, quite a few people actually weren't receiving our mass emails. That's not to say that that's what affected numbers at Saturday's meeting or the survey, but
No, but now you know, and you're going to have a broader base to go to. I think that's
we're gonna
good.
for sure send out another email
Okay.
blast for the survey. I think we'll do better.
It is funny though, because we've discussed that here. I'll be like, I got it, and Robert's like, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear it explained, because we've done that multiple times where we're like, I got it.
Yeah, and we
My kids,
yeah.
my younger ones are involved in a lot of the activities out there, so I would think, well, maybe.
Yeah, folks, where you can filter things too. Like if we want to address a specific group,
That's great.
then it would reach those
Right.
people. But when we wanted to send a
The big
mass
blast.
email and
Mhm.
we hit the all customers, still going out to quite a few people, but quite a few did not receive those mass
You could
emails.
almost say that that had effect on our numbers.
Well, because we were shocked by the difference in numbers, internal and external.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
historically, our numbers are,
You're 70-30, I'm sure.
well, this,
External, I think, is a little bit more. You know,
no,
No, it's
internal.
just-
Our numbers proved out this year, we're
Well,
strongly,
that's even better.
right, more in city than out. But that hasn't been our historical understanding of it, so that was a change.
Yeah.
But anyway, just to throw it out
Glad you
there.
figured it out. That's good.
Yeah. It was interesting, just because some of our own staff weren't
getting
receiving,
it.
weren't receiving, like, what's going on? Why isn't it happening? But
Oh, well, good.
That fixed the
Maybe
problem.
maybe that'll push some more people toward the survey.
Yeah,
That's
in a
great.
lot of ways, even for the Libby project. Because we just sent an email, a mass email.
saw it today.
I got
Did
that
you
one
get
today.
that today?
I did.
Excellent.
I got the Libby Park one today.
You got the
I
Libby,
did too.
because
Yeah.
we sent a mass email for the Libby, and it, again, I won't go into how many were missed, but it was quite a few. But now that's all changed. It's going to be reaching many, many more people, those mass emails.
Nice.
Well, as a follow-up on the Surgery Master Plan, it's going to be very exciting to see what they come back with.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great meeting, and I think we're all really going to enjoy it, so.
Yeah, I think the concepts that were proposed that day were great, so.
And we had a nice article, by the way, in the Ojai Valley News.
Yeah, right here
Yes.
you
I
are.
want to thank the
Right on
news,
front
yes, there you
page.
go.
Yes.
That was a
Quote.
follow-up on that meeting,
You-
and they covered the whole meeting, and that was really nice.
What, pipe dream?
No,
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 down below.
right below. Community helps design Sarasota Park's future.
Have we been told something or not
Pipe
told
dream,
something?
no, not that one, but the article below.
Some of it might be a pipe dream, we're not sure yet.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
some
some of it definitely was.
big plans.
We weren't gonna talk budget numbers in the workshop, though.
That's right.
That was not the concept there. We had to dream big.
I think Councilman Haney said, money's not an issue.
He's over there in the corner going, wow.
If I could, I wanted to talk a little bit. I was at the meeting, and I had a couple of concerns. One was that the participation from the community was very low. The other was that the survey, well, also participation in the survey was relatively low, but also it's hard to tell from that who the survey is reaching. We're capturing some demographics of the person who filled it out, gender and age, but not their family, if they're filling it out for their family. And also, I think, we talked about this at the last meeting. It seems like we might be just kind of capturing the people who already participate a lot in parks and rec types of things, and maybe not the people that we want to get involved. So that was a concern, and I don't feel like having the survey open for a little bit longer is really going to address that. I mean, it seems like we're going to get some nice proposals back next month that have a lot of our input in it, but not a lot of community input in it, was my sense.
See, with that lacking, that's not really good.
So it seems kind of premature to come up with designs for a park when we haven't really gotten this feedback. Some stuff I did like, though, from the workshop, though, is that the two groups, both of the stuff that we proposed, I think was a lot more inclusive for the community. So we were talking about not just a playground for little kids, but play space for teenagers, exercise equipment for adults, a path going around the park for people who want to walk or jog or scooter or skate. So we were talking about having a lot of different stuff there, which would appeal to a lot of people. A lot of ADA compliance for the playground was talked about. So I like that. That was encouraging, but I am concerned not hearing more from the community, because we're talking about a master plan for a park that we're going to carry out over maybe decades and spend maybe millions of dollars. So it seems like if we want that to be something really solid that we're going to sit on for decades, we should be pretty confident that it's what the community wants.
Do you think that the timing with kids going back to school and everything had an effect on?
The timing was really hard.
Yeah.
Should we try
was one-
another outreach meeting? I mean,
That's not part of our budget, and we'd have to
Could, I
expand
mean-
our budget to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to know up front that,
And it doesn't seem like the community outreach meetings get a great turn. I mean, even the one we
Did-
did for Libby.
No,
it
yeah.
was
Did
not
the
that
company, did they
great.
give an idea what their normal return is on? I mean, that's,
No, but this was low. He commented in the
Well,
beginning.
do you think even trying to reach out, maybe give a little incentive to people? We talked about maybe trying to give a $10 voucher incentive. You know, we'd have to discuss this on the staff level, but a $5-10 discount if you fill out the survey. Are you saying you don't feel like the survey is even going to give
Well-
a better idea of, even if we get more, are you not in favor of the survey?
You know, I
Is
think
that
we
what
got a second opportunity here that maybe we can capitalize on, which is when the designs come back to the Park and Recreation Commission.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe what if we
Instead of
do
a
more
regular
email
meeting?
blasts now
Right.
that, hey, you
We
know,
can-
the
we can
designs are gonna be
try
here
another
for
press release.
October.
Well, we could also change
if we
the
get a little
meeting.
better
We could change
luck
the
on
meeting
that.
format. We could have it at the rec center. We could do it a little differently and make it more of an open meeting specifically on that, couldn't we?
You could, or you could even do that in the context of this meeting.
They're going to bring back conceptual drawings, not hard drawings.
Right.
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 And you could have those presented prior to your meeting
Right.
and get public input for those that want to see it. And then what's going to happen is they're going to do probably a review, PowerPoint, and the public's going to see that. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity, Ryan, for the public to buy in and to be a part of it. But I think you'll get a sense of that in all of these, every time you do a public outreach, that, you know, some come and some don't. And, you know, it's that squeaky wheel thing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we could maybe do some work to shop around these concepts, not maybe just kind of.
Well, what'll be interesting
Saying
is
we're
when
gonna-
they do bring back a conceptual drawing and they actually show a new rec center and they show a small mini amphitheater with a new restroom associated with it and all of the additional picnic areas and, you know, a basketball court and a volleyball court and a tennis court and all of these things that
Splash
they
pad.
can do. It's just going to be incredible in a conceptual way.
Right.
And again, it's conceptual. It's not hard. It's conceptual. And people, I think, will have an easier time looking at it and understanding what can be done in that space by seeing something drawn out.
Exactly.
Versus it just, you know, here's my 2 cents. Now that you'll be able to see it and go, now put my 2 cents right there.
Right. They can react to that.
Yeah.
Sometimes better than they can. I still wonder, though, if it wouldn't be worthwhile to change our format or make it something slightly different than just one of our meetings so that it's specifically about this as a workshop. or
Yeah,
something
I
to
mean,
invite more engagement than just come say your 2 minutes.
Right. Or, you know, if we think about demographics and maybe just kind of reaching out to particular demographics, not just kind of holding some kind of event and inviting people, but maybe shopping these concepts like to particular groups within the community. So,
Well, and like, I know
Like you're
that,
talking ASO or Pony
or to the
Baseball.
yeah.
stakeholders or.
So some types of groups I thought was
I thought,
special
Those
needs.
users are already there, you know what
Sure.
I mean? They're, again, those users
Yeah.
are there and they use the park and they're I
Right.
don't know how satisfied they are with the park, but they're satisfied with that use of the park, so.
Yeah, I know
Tell,
Pony-
make some
Pony
recommendations.
baseball
on
was
users.
represented that
Yeah.
last weekend,
Yeah.
but what if we, you know, got the drawings early, the conceptual drawings, and we were able to blast them out to AYSO and Pony, and for people who can't come to the meetings or who didn't come to the workshop, but they have their own email blast that they can send out. You know, what if we could do that and capitalize on those conceptual drawings? And then also do our own blast, which would include non-residents. But, you know, and maybe,
couple.
and pump up that excitement a little bit about it, because I think that everybody's right, you know, if you see the conceptual drawings, again, it's like, oh, wow, this is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
As opposed to, what do you want? So,
Yeah. I would agree. I think
So you're talking about stakeholders.
responding to
Really?
concepts would be more helpful than a survey.
Yeah, and it was pretty general, that survey
Yeah.
too, I'm
which
not-
was part of the goal, though.
Yes.
Not to
We
look
wanted to know
over the
what
survey,
everybody wanted
right,
in
but not to
general.
look over the survey carefully now, but I don't remember what part where it said, you know, there was a section on there where you could actually write in to what's missing, or what 2 things you would like to see
That
there.
aren't- yeah.
That aren't there, and I think it's in there somewhere, but I don't remember
Well,
what received the highest the highest rankings.
I think it was a pool,
It was a
wasn't it?
pool.
It was a
And the
pool.
next one was a water feature.
A water feature.
Was it?
Pool,
I
water
thought it was
feature.
an outdoor basketball.
It
court.
wasn't.
That was number 3, I think.
Oh, was it 3?
Yeah.
And water came first.
No, not that I was keeping track, though.
No.
But I think the concept you guys were just talking about was reaching out to stakeholders, which
Yeah.
are specific groups
I
of
think so.
users. Is that what you're speaking to, or you're? I
Yeah,
hear something different from you.
Yes. So, I mean, groups I thought about, just think about every age group, right? Very young, teen, adult, senior, making sure that we're hearing from
So
a
you're-
representative group of
You're
each
not
of those.
meaning going to AYSO or go to this other one. You want different,
We might think of
Age
other ways
groups.
to break up. I mean, maybe it is, different activity groups as well. But I also thought about special needs kids and adults, making sure that their needs, they're
I
getting
think
stuff that they want.
that's part of that. I mean, that is taken into account that anything that we do within the park system has to be brought up to current standards.
ADA compliance.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a difference between things being to a code or a standard and being things that a group of people want or are going to use.
Well, I think that, I agree with Randy. Once you have this drawing, we shop it out, we get it in the newspaper.
look at it
I still
then.
think it's great to get to stakeholders because they have large groups of users that you're talking about that they can communicate with. So we
Yeah.
go to our
Well,
stakeholders.
it's a spider web, If,
Yeah,
if
it kinda-
AYSO sends it out, then 5 of the other people send it to another organization they're involved with, and so on and so forth. But we could send it to the help of Ojai, and everybody.
But I would love to see the format be more considered a workshop, because I think people are more likely to come if they think they can participate more.
And I think, okay, we didn't have success on this Saturday, and maybe it was the day, maybe it was the time. But, we've offered programs at the rec department where we get 5
Right.
kids that show up, and then the next week,
Yeah.
40 kids show
How-
up.
how
So
was it advertised?
it's same thing with adults. Yeah, this wasn't a good turnout, but we get those renderings again. We invite them to another community workshop based on those renderings. And then maybe we'll have a better turnout and a bigger turnout and more input.
Right. So yeah, I definitely think it was a successful meeting. I mean, I think there was very
I know you're
perspective
not
stuff that
knocking
came
it
out
We
of
don't
it.
let
that
more people.
I know you're not, I
Yeah.
agree with you, it was very disappointing, the
Yeah,
turnout.
yeah.
But we've had disappointment before on turnout, only to see it rebound.
Yeah, yeah.
At least in the kid world, in the recreation world, only to rebound and come back
Right.
with.
And in all honesty, we didn't get to the schools in time to get it to them. The way that we got the word out, Robert, you're asking how we got the word out.
Yeah.
It was mostly a postcard, and it was on the activity guide, and it was on Facebook, and it
Instagram.
was on Instagram, and there was an email.
Yeah. It was,
So,
yeah.
but we
there was
didn't
actually-
time it well enough to get it to the schools, and that was a disappointment, and that was just timing. Because there was supposed to be a one sheet that went out and it didn't make it, and that is a huge pool of our users. But it was in the mailbox for anyone who was paying attention there.
Yeah.
So do we know how quickly we can get these conceptual,
They're coming in October.
I know, but,
I'll have to,
Oh,
I'll
get
have
them
to
before
check.
then?
yeah.
But I would anticipate we'd certainly want them like a week or at least a week before.
Well, or
but
maybe
I'll have to
more than
check.
that. Maybe we bump it to the November meeting.
I would
To get
think
the time.
that better, because October is gonna bring a lot of things that we're gonna be doing ourselves as a group. November, I think, would be a little bit better. It might be that time, getting around vacation time and stuff, where people are not.
Well, and in fact, you could use Ojai Day as one of the big places to farm the design out if we have it. 'Cause they were
Exactly.
gonna come before Ojai Day and present it to us, but if we had that for Ojai Day as a booth, that's a great way to be there and have a really broad
and
spectrum of
Let me,
people.
let me find out when he thinks he's gonna have it ready, because I agree, if it's not gonna be but 2 days before the
Or
October
even a week
meeting.
isn't enough for us, really, I don't think.
Okay,
Because it'd be nice to pump it out through the email, all over social media, and pump up that particular Parks and Rec meeting as come
Workshop, come participate,
workshop.
tell
Yeah,
us what
tell
you
us
think.
what you want. Tell us what you think about these drawings. And maybe if we put it out at Ojai Day, it's after the Libby Park thing as well.
And people are excited.
Everybody's kind of done with Libby. Let's move on to Sarasota kind
I
of
think
thing.
we
as
overload
opposed
them
to-
right now with so much other
Right.
things, they're
Distract
gonna
them.
lose interest in something.
Yeah.
We are pumping people for Libby.
Yeah.
So.
I also don't feel that, I mean, this isn't urgent with Sarasota Park. It's a process, right?
Yeah.
We're getting concepts, we're gonna.
I think
shop
the
them
only
around.
thing we've put some projects that we have funding for on the back burner, so I think there's some time sensitivity to that stuff, but not not
Yeah,
months.
a month isn't
You know, not a
bad.
month, yeah.
Right.
Well,
Well,
let me
let's
check with the
check with them.
consultant and,
Yeah.
because I know they were planning to come back to the October meeting,
I say
so
push it to November.
if they're not going to have it early enough for the October meeting, then
Well,
we'll
even
see
if they
can
could
come-
have it early enough, what if we want to do Ojai Day? It'd still be better to do it in November.
Okay,
I mean, what does the rest of the commission feel? I feel like that's an opportunity to get a wide, broad spectrum of people through.
Well, we don't necessarily need them here for.
No, not for that. I mean-
For the community one in November. So they could still come and present to us in October.
I think you want them there, because you want them to get the feedback you're getting at the
But then
meeting.
you,
I think so too.
So I think we don't have them in October. Would they give us the work,
Mm-hmm.
and we use the work at Ojai Day, and we try and get it out to everybody, we have a month to do that versus a week or 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they come back, we bring what we get people to come back to the meeting
I
in
agree with
November.
that. I think that would be a great
fine.
way.
So we push it to November?
When you say come to a meeting, you mean this meeting or another community outreach, maybe?
I think it'd be really interesting to see how we do at Ojai Day, get
There
people
was
to
only
sign up with interest.
Community outreach meeting in the budget, so.
I think
Yeah,
we
if
do
we
it
want to do
here.
something
Well, no.
here
This
differently,
November meeting,
Well,
yeah,
why can't we, as the Parks and
can.
Rec Commission?
That's what I'm
do it
saying.
ourselves?
we can. I'm just saying, we're not,
And not having we'd give it back to him and say, okay, this is what we want.
Well,
You
but what I was thinking is if we have another meeting, then we'll come to our Parks Commission with conceptuals, right? So if we put them off till November and they come with the conceptuals, then we can call it a
Right.
workshop, and they will be
Right.
here for the whole meeting to absorb all the community input.
Yeah, I think
they
that's the
should
way
be
to
here,
go.
and I want them to hear it so that they get a broader understanding of where things are coming from.
yeah, they need to be here
They
for
need to be
that.
here for that.
Yeah.
So we don't
Yeah,
have
it's what
another
we're paying
community
them to
meeting,
do.
but we do have a Parks Commission meeting, which we can just call a workshop, and hopefully have lots of people come after Ojai Day, because I think at Ojai Day, not only do we show them what we have, we try and get their
Sure.
emails and their information,
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I think everybody's gonna be super hyped up on Libby.
Yeah.
which is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. You say, hey, this is what's in the pipeline next.
I
Check
wanna
this
do
out.
that, yeah. Okay,
So-
so we'll shoot for November for them to come back and present the conceptual design, and our hope will be that it'll be somewhat of a workshop, meaning we'll have lots of time for people to participate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can nail that down at our October
Okay.
meeting if we need to.
Good.
Yeah.
Maybe still, we can get the conceptual drawings.
As early
in
as
the
we
next
can.
couple weeks.
Sure.
or- Yeah, earlier the better, right?
No reason to sit on them as soon as we have them.
Great.
So, but probably better this way than have them trying to rush it, perhaps,
Exactly.
potentially.
Definitely, yeah.
I don't know. He may have
He seemed like he was on it and was
He
gonna get it done.
may have them ready next week, I'm not sure. So I think we just picked that date because we knew we weren't gonna have it ready for this one, and so October seemed logical next step. But that works, that'll work.
Good.
I'll just have to make sure that they can come to that meeting, but
Okay.
In November, okay.
yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
I had another comment on Sarzati, and maybe this is, I don't know, this could be really easy or really hard, but, one of the things I think we're very locked into with the exercise we did over the weekend was the ball fields. The baseball and soccer take up more than half the park. And a lot of parking, and we're talking about putting more parking, basically a perimeter of asphalt kind of around the park to accommodate that. And I was wondering if we should be thinking about other locations for ball fields.
Not
that's
really.
I
hard.
don't think so, but
No, I don't either, because there's not very many places. I sat on pony board for years, and we've tried everything that we could, even taking over at Soul Park.
Okay, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, and there is something, and I don't know if it's true, or excuse me, true or not, but there's something written into the agreement that no one can play hardball out at Zarazotti, or out, I'm sorry, at Soul Park. And that's why we haven't done for years. So I don't know if it's true, but that's why we stopped. We were told that from the county and,
Okay.
and everything. We've looked at places in Miners Oaks to build new fields. On the east end of Ojai, somebody would have to donate at least 35 acres, and I don't think.
Okay, because it did seem like, issues with that park are noise and parking, and
But you have to understand that park has been there
yeah,
for many, many years.
right.
And people have to understand that that's an activity that goes on
Yeah,
there.
you bought your house next to a park.
Yeah.
And by the way, a community park, not a neighborhood park.
Yes.
This is a community park. I mean, if you're looking at levels of park, this is an active recreation hub
Those,
What were you gonna
those
say?
fields,
It's not just a
those
neighborhood
fields
park.
are just used
constantly.
7 days a week.
And it's not just one sport either.
Yeah.
And often when the reason for the parking is because you'll have the front field doing one thing, somebody in the back little field, and then all the ball fields all at the same time. And
If they were underutilized,
Utilized.
I'd say, sure,
Yeah.
let's try to find another place for them, but they aren't, and.
No, it's not a concern that they're underutilized. It may be, yeah, it's just that, I mean,
I think
there
also.
are reasons why
Is
you
there
guys looked
another
at Soul
spa-
Park,
is there
right?
another space?
Is there another
Well, and it's
space?
not as central. I think when you start to move to Sewell, you have transportation problems. Where that is for kids to get there on a bike is a very doable thing, which is a separate issue. But you get out to Sewell, that isn't the place you want kids riding their bike.
Well,
We haven't, there's just
You
not as
see that
accessible.
between the two leagues, which actually should be one league up
Right.
here. But you got a lot of people down in Oakview that can send their son or daughter down to that Oakdale Park down there because it's right close to home. Why do they want to drive all the way up into Ojai and participate in a sport? Now, if both those could be, combined, which we've tried, I think several times.
More than
We've-
once, yes.
Yeah, to combine them, and it just doesn't work. You could have a north-south league, so some of the people that are up here, because you do have some from Ojai that drive down there, so. But, yeah, I think you're,
I don't know if you know what we're talking about. We have Pony and Little League.
Yeah.
And Pony is centered at Serzodi, and Little League has their fields over in Oakview.
Right.
yeah.
There's there's girls softball, there's
There's-
our own adult softball league,
Softball
play
league.
in the
yeah.
evening.
Church
You're
leagues.
talking light, you need lights and a lot of them, and I don't know where you'd get that.
I sat with the pony
get that
guys,
settled down.
and on Saturday we sat there, and the idea of trying to redesign the park to be more baseball and softball friendly, even, and squeeze in more fields. We even tried.
It's just not big enough.
It's just not big enough, and I don't think moving that recreation is feasible right now. I think it would be fantastic if we had a spot
Yeah.
where we could just do a ball field kind
Yeah.
of park. I mean,
Ball
like
field
Camino
soccer.
Real, where
Which-
it's just ball field
Which
after
they
ball
do in
field,
other
you know?
communities because they have more space.
Exactly.
I mean, you look at.
But you bring up, we ought to look at this, is probably down the line for an agenda item or something to think about, but Soul Park is something we should be seriously considering.
I think the
Agreed.
city should be looking at
Yes.
that park, and
And I don't know,
what-
I waited for Steve to leave, maybe I should wait for him, because I don't know what staff has done.
Yeah.
I think it's been discussed many times, but I think what we haven't ever gotten is a super firm understanding of what it costs to run it now. Because I think that's a big
part of the
piece it.
issue is
think
the golf course and the park, but I agree, and I think there's been some talk
But there
about
was
it.
there was a time when they had offered that to
Oh,
us.
if they'd offer it
probably
tomorrow,
still let us take
it's
it.
still, Randy can
Randy,
speak to some of
I
this.
think Randy has.
Randy?
I think
Some
what you,
insight.
I think what you have to do is you have to agendize it,
Mm-hmm.
and then have Steve
We're talking about Sewell Park
interact
101.
with the county, and let Steve bring back the facts.
Very good.
But
So
Do that
it's a
Steve's
for-
not
future
gonna do
agenda
that
item.
until it's an agendized item, and it's something that you guys really say you wanna do. And at that
Something
point,
we wanna
Steve
look
can do with all the discovery that he needs, and that's gonna help you to evaluate.
We'll look at it.
So can we put that on the agenda,
A future
Steve?
agenda item.
And
And
I'd specifically be interested in the feasibility of that as a ball park.
I'd be interested in like the actual maintenance costs of it. and
What it costs to
everything.
maintain it now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'cause it's a
we're gonna have
beast
to
of a
look at
park,
the
but-
upkeep and everything, whether we can even afford it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something we're gonna have to have Public Works involvement. I don't think moving the ball fields from Zarazoti is going to work, though.
If anything, you would be expanding your,
You would be
Inventory.
giving them more fields
Yeah.
that they always,
Right.
right now, they have to juggle their times and hours and everything to fit with soccer on some days, on Sundays or Saturdays, some mornings we had to start late.
Right.
it's a
especially-
complicated schedule.
Yeah, especially during the five-a-side pony baseball,
Yeah,
that league.
That's-
We have to share the field.
we have to share the field.
I think it's a great time to look into Soul Park, though. We
I do
have
too.
the Parks and Rec is doing great. It's healthy. It's expanding every year. It's just participation is great. I mean,
Just want to make sure we don't get the cart before the horse here. And I know I've heard anecdotally that there may be some interest in, giving up that park, but should we be asking that question first?
I think
Before we
so.
start going into the analysis? I mean, it'd be like, I want to buy my neighbor's car and, I'll look up, service records and consumer reports.
Totally
and
agree. I think
asked my
that-
wife
that-
if she
that
likes to keep
somebody-
it
selling.
That we
And he's
should-
like, I love this truck. I'm not selling it. Get out of
Yeah.
here.
Well,
So maybe that might be
This
the.
meeting, can we direct staff to make a phone call? Is that
Sure.
something we should put on the agenda first?
I don't even think you have to give the direction. We're more than happy to do that.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we're more than happy to reach out. So I guess that would be the first question, just to see if, and again, that doesn't mean if the answer is no, that still can't be something that the city couldn't possibly pursue. I mean, you could always, your neighbor says no, and, maybe I make him an offer he can't refuse.
Takeover.
Right, there you go. So, but I guess, like I said, that might be the first step to at least kind of know what we're looking at. And then, obviously, I heard you would like to know about the maintenance costs.
Current operating expenses.
And then, what are some other things you'd be interested in finding out?
Well, if
Any,
there's-
I guess, any
Annual-
long-term restrictions
Yeah,
on the
like deed restriction or
property
something,
or
yeah.
agreements or?
Revenue?
And yeah, I was gonna say revenue.
Revenue.
What's
Okay,
the
yeah.
county pulling in
Right,
now?
like I said, yeah.
What's that?
Huge.
Huge, right? No, yeah.
With the 4 people that are over there
Exactly.
that paid the car fee?
Yeah.
And if the rocket ship comes with the park.
Okay.
We want to move that to Sarasota.
Exactly, yeah. Yes.
Okay,
All right, thanks.
can do that.
Anything else on Sarasota? I know we got off topic there, but,
We left that a while ago.
You done
Yeah.
now, Ryan?
all right.
I'm done.
Libby Park, community build.
Well, and I'll probably ask our chair and our vice chair to fill in a little bit here, because I know you've both been very involved in the project. The one thing from the staff perspective that we really want to address tonight, and this is kind of a combination of C and D to a certain extent. As you well know, there's a major fundraising effort underway to try to, we're trying to get money from, to try to raise money from the community to pay for specific components in the park. There's quite a fundraising effort underway to sell the bricks, to be able to fund that, and of course, to fund the whole project. What we're coming to ask the commission tonight is to see if you would be willing to give a recommendation and support on a contingency fund. Again, we're trying very hard to raise those monies, but if we do fall short of that, we don't want to have to sacrifice certain components at the park. At least that would be staff's recommendation at this point. A little earlier today, it looked like the worst-case scenario would be that we would fall as much as, this would be if we didn't get any donations coming in, that we would have about a $40,000 cash shortfall. And then a couple other things that are coming into play today.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with the cost of the synthetic turf for the
Sliding hill.
the sliding hill, thank you.
Yes.
Couldn't think of what to call that for a moment. So we're now looking, and again, these are all very conservative ballpark numbers, but with that, we're trying to come up with a contingency of $50,000. And again, hoping that we don't have to use any of that money, but it gives us something that we can draw off of. We did crunch the budget numbers backwards and forwards for last fiscal year in terms of what we did in terms of the under budget for the recreation department. There was already $40,000 from the overage, for lack of a better term, that was being earmarked towards the project. So that's 40 that's already really coming off of that total. But the total that we have, and we're very confident with this number, and it may end up going a little bit higher than that, but if you recall, we talked last meeting that we were somewhere in the range of, I think we said 100 to 115,000. Well, the number that we've settled on that we're confident in is $107,000. So if you subtract right off the top of that, the 40 that was already being pledged, so to speak, towards the project, that leaves us $67,000 that we feel pretty confident that we have to utilize for capital improvements. So the recommendation and the request from staff would be for the Parks Commission, if they would be willing to support a recommendation to the City Council to provide a contingency to the project not to exceed $50,000. That would be funded from the our overage from the previous fiscal year in the rec department.
I'm confused.
Okay,
So is the 40 to Libby, that's part of that? And you're asking for an additional 10 to make 50, so that would leave
or
43,000?
50.
Or it's an additional
we're asking for,
Total.
90 total?
right, the 40 was already plugged in there, and that's already in the budget. This is a contingency if we do not get some of the fundraising to come through. Worst case scenario would be, we're looking for another $50,000.
Okay, so where do we stand right now? I've been told that we had like $265,000. Are we still there?
Are you talking the total overall budget?
Yes.
I don't know. All I know is that the shortfall that was addressed, that was given
Because
to me
I
by.
see that here in this,
Yeah, 265.
yeah. I see that money here.
In the
but
five-year
in the
savings.
budget, there's
Right.
165 for Fund 31, and other fund is 100. Now, are we talking about that 100 that we've already wiped out 40 of, out of that 100? Or what is the 20?
Right,
that
we've
we-
already wiped out 40,000 out of the 107, correct. So at this point, we've got $67,000 that has not been earmarked towards anything.
And 50 of that is what's being requested as a contingency for the project,
Correct,
leaving 17,000 to be allocated.
correct.
That's the shade.
What's that?
It says the shade down here.
Oh,
so-
no, the 50,000
I'm just
includes-
saying, we had 300, then we had the company come in and do the drawings and all that, and I think that was, gosh, what did we spend on that so far? Was it
That was 35.
35,000, I
Yeah,
think?
34, 35, I think.
So, so that comes out of there, so we're right at the 260-something, but, so we crunched some numbers?
I don't know, I'd have to talk to Mr. Grant on that. That number may have gone up based on some of the components and
additional shade.
whatnot. Yeah, and additional
And some
shade,
additional-
so.
Yeah, that's all
sorry.
I need to know is
Yeah.
if we were, I was, understand, and this is my problem, I shouldn't have overanalyzed it, but I was thinking, all of a sudden now, instead of $265,000, we only got $107,000 to build a $300,000 park.
No.
No.
This is totally separate money, right?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
confused
this is not even in the budget that we currently have,
No.
correct?
But the
Well,
40,000 of it is.
Right,
The
correct.
265 is already
Right.
there.
It is still
Yes,
there.
That's all
still
there.
there.
Okay.
So this is.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
that
yes.
was my thing, is I'm
Yeah.
going,
Yes.
my God, all of a sudden now
No,
we.
this is funding in excess of that. That's already
I
there
see.
and that's all solid.
That's a very
What
good
gets
idea. that
confusing then
We
is-
do need a contingency in there.
And there is a little contingency, but there's not.
What
we're-
percentage of
we're-
that project would that, what is the contingency amount, 10%, 15%?
We're using contingency two different ways.
Yeah,
in
we
this
are,
discussion.
exactly, yeah.
Because there is a contingency built into the budget that's there and is already there. But we have costs exceeding that contingency even well beyond it. So when we say contingency in regards to this excess funds that we have accumulated for last year, what it means is the goal is to fundraise as much as possible.
Right.
And only take out of this $50,000
Exactly.
what we need. So it is a contingency, but it's not the project contingency.
Okay, all
It's the
right.
contingency in the sense that we're not allocating this and saying, you take it, we're done with it.
Right.
We are setting it aside with the understanding that if the fundraising can't meet its goals, we'll be able to finish this project.
Okay.
Right, so instead if the fundraising falls short and this, component goes away, this would be a way that we could keep it
I
whole.
totally agree with that, and I think that's something we should
So
make sure it happens.
I have a question. On here, we have 109,000 for picnic tables, benches, trash, and that was from the CDBG.
I think that money
Is
has been
correct?
reallocated somewhere else.
Is that?
That's
if
the
that's true,
recycling,
then-
Yeah, that's AB 939
And that
money, I
was used a
believe,
different
right?
way.
So is
I-
it still on our budget or no?
I don't
Because
think
I
so.
know one of the original discussions we talked about was being able to use some of that money for the playground
And the
because
last
it's
time I asked-
recycled
yeah.
materials.
The last time I asked about that, it had been used for a different purpose.
I'd have to check
We'll
with
need
We could check on that
clarification,
because
but-
I would rather use that money than use our surplus, to be honest with
Absolutely.
you, and dip into the picnic tables and trash cans then.
Put those off for a little while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if it's an either or.
But but you know what, though? This 109 could be the picnic benches and the covers out there at Zarzoti. Is that the
Yeah,
picnic areas? Is that what
It
that
could
is?
No.
be.
I think that's what that is.
No, it's,
The awnings that you're talking?
Yeah.
The coverings
Yeah.
for it as well?
it isn't.
It's not?
No. The picnic tables, bench, and trash and recycling replacement. It isn't,
for
it isn't
citywide
the,
stuff, right?
yeah, it's all over in different
Yeah.
parks.
Yeah.
It was not the one, it isn't the project at Sarzodi for the picnic area. No, that was separate money. That was CDBG money coming in that we
Right.
put on hold.
The way I understood it
Right.
is this is for,
It's under Surzati Park.
Let's flip over. If you're looking for that.
If you go to Parks, right.
yeah, Sarasota here.
The question is that
Okay,
109 still
103.
going
Yeah, it
to
was
picnic tables,
yeah, it was
benches, trash, and
103.
recycling
All right.
replacement?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Out of
sorry.
the 80 whatever, I don't think it's there anymore, but that's a question to be
If it
answered.
is there, I would be, like I said, I'd be a proponent of taking that over our dipping into our surplus for the year.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can
Just-
give staff, though, the direction to look into that, tell us if it's there or not. And if not, then we're gonna have to make a contingency the other way anyway.
We're supposed to make recommendations, so are you saying you'd recommend to use this first if that's
I
not
would recommend
available?
using that first,
Then
and if
we
that's not
recommend to
available,
use-
then
Okay,
definitely.
well, you
I
could, you could
agree.
put that in the motion.
That's
and-
what I'm thinking.
And then if it's not available, then,
It's not available, and we move on to the next option. I think that's reasonable.
I think it's great.
And then, so even with this, there's still 17,000 that we could make recommendations on allocations toward projects.
right.
Which is when we can flip to our CIP priority page, correct?
Correct, yeah, but
To look
I
and see
think,
if there's
I
anything
think,
we want to pick off
well,
there.
yeah, I guess it's how you want to proceed, if you want to look at all that, first, or if you want to make a decision on the Libby Park, it's up to you.
Oh, you want separate motions? I thought we would just deal with the money as one motion? The overage?
Well, I mean, it seems to me that this is pretty specific and direct, because we're really running out of time. We have to
Okay.
take something to city council on September 22nd.
I think at the same time, though, at least my impression out of our joint meeting was that council would love to hear from us on how to spend that money sooner than later. That was what I got out of the joint council meeting, so.
Well, there's
I,
some.
I agree, but I don't think we're trying to get that on the September 22nd council
Exactly, and I think what
agenda.
we need to do is hold that money if it is possible, because if we look at doing something for Soul Park, we might need some money to get that thing going too.
I don't know. I kind of feel like we set some priorities, and I'd rather look at those again, but, instead of going off in another direction, but. Because we
So-
have things we
I
already
agree.
have information about that we have on our list that aren't on the city's list.
Right, but
Which is-
I think we make the.
Make a separate motion for the 50 as a contingency.
Right, and then wait on, to see what is left, if we have to use some for Libby or not, and then we can make that.
Look at bigger projects.
Then we
Makes
can
sense.
recommend to council what we would like that.
Yeah.
Whatever's left, whether it's 15 or,
Two.
or yeah, or 67.
And we
guess-
might have a fairly good idea at the October meeting on that.
Right.
Hopefully.
We also want to recommend that picnic table thing be looked into, and
AB what? What is it? AB?
Maybe 939?
Yeah, it's recycling money, I
if
believe is
some
what
of
that
that
was
could
for.
go towards Libby Playground.
Right, I understand.
Okay, so,
So do we have more discussion, or are we ready to make a motion?
I think we're ready.
yeah. So I would like to make a motion that we look into the 109,000 of AB 939 money to compensate for the possible shortage of donations.
So we recommend that we use the 109,000?
Yes, and if that is there, recommend that we use that money first.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Well, then and if not? Or
If
does it-
not,
Do a separate one.
Two separate
you want
motions
to
for
do two
that?
separate ones?
I think you
Could
could
be
combine
one.
it
Can
into
you do,
one.
can you do
Okay,
them
and then
all?
if not, then we dip into
Then we
our,
recommend,
then we would recommend that we dip into our reserves from this past fiscal year,
we allocate $50,000
the
of
$50,000,
that.
I can still second
or
that.
whatever that difference is, I should say.
It's our fiscal year 14, 15.
Yeah.
Okay,
Got all that?
I do.
I'll second that motion.
Great.
I already seconded it.
Oh, sorry, good. Done.
Oh, okay.
Excellent.
All right,
We'll
we'll
call
change
for-
the
we'll
second
call
on
for a
that.
Can I get a vote?
You just call, all
Aye.
in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Okay, done.
Fantastic.
But I don't want to put off, I know that we're waiting to see how much more money we have, but I have to say, from our list, there are some things on here that we could do with not that much money that would make, like, the shade between the buildings. I mean, I know it's not, but I would love to move forward on some of those projects that we can afford to do, even without a big chunk of change that we could allocate money toward, so. I don't want that to fall off of our agenda. I want to keep bringing it back each month to see if we're ready to talk about it so that we don't let it go.
Yeah, and with the El Nino year coming up, it'd be nice to have cover in between the courtyard and the gym as a outdoor workable space. I'll say on behalf of the rec department, that little courtyard area gets a lot of use, and I'm thinking of specifically CrossFit, our pottery program, and several others that would benefit from having.
We have it
cover.
on there as a $5,000 project, so
We
I would
do,
love to see
yeah.
us, if that's a reasonable cost, move forward with something like that and not wait that long. But that's just my 2 cents on that those priorities.
And if we tear down that gym and put a 3-story complex there, Randy, we won't need the shade anymore.
Exactly. Do we know where the skate park people are regarding the lights and fundraising or anything of that nature?
No.
Actually, I can give a little update on that. So I recently had a discussion with the city manager and was also prompted by the efforts of your former chair, Sunday Rylander, and her son to do the GoFundMe effort. So just to remind everybody as well as the public, the city council did approve the skate park lighting project, and of course it was contingent to, but there was not any funding assigned to it. So at the time, we were hoping that we could work with Skate Ojai or some other supporter to, that could come up with the money, and then we would drop some type of, whether it be an agreement that they do the improvements and provide them to the city. Anyways, what we're planning to do is take an item to the city council at the September, I think we're gonna take it at the September 22nd meeting, to ask the council to accept the donation of the GoFundMe.
Right.
And then see if council want to give any other further discussion or direction to staff in terms of funding that. And really with the idea that maybe raising the profile again in the community might spur some interest or some action. We're certainly willing to work with Skate Ojai or anybody like that who would be willing to come forward and support the park or support that project for the park. So that's where we are at right now. If the council votes to accept that donation, then we'll schedule a presentation at probably the subsequent meeting, and that'll give a little bit of seed money to the project, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Good. That's good.
Okay. Thanks. I just asked because I saw it on our CIP's list here. So does anybody want to, I know
We're leaping into the 5-year
we're
capital
leaping
improvement
into the
plan?
5-year plan.
Okay, which we,
We're done with Libby, right? Everybody's good with that? Okay.
I think then can I just share what we've done this week?
Oh, please, yeah,
Yes,
please do.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
We had a volunteer meeting last night at the Women's Club, and it was very successful. We had a lot of people. At
Really
least
good
40
turnout.
or 50, a lot of people came through, and
Yeah,
it was
quite a few.
excellent. We signed up a lot of people for a lot of shifts. We handed out even more information, got out some of the fundraising materials. I thought it was really successful. I think we
Right.
probably should do it again.
Yeah, Dave was
Was
able
there-
to get a couple of the
Leads,
leads, the
yeah.
project leads, team leads, from local contractors that happened to show up as well,
And-
just to volunteer and kind of roped them in for that, so
Yeah.
it's good.
And it was nice to meet there were a lot of people who are relatively new to the valley who signed up, which was really
Yeah.
neat, and got to, people are very excited to participate, so it was very successful, which is really nice on the heels of our low turnout at the other. You never know what's going to happen. So that was great. I went to the Women's Club today and did a presentation. We got some more volunteers there. I know we're working on, I've talked to some of the schools, but not all of them, about getting in their newsletters. And
And back to school nights are coming up, so we talked about passing out flyers and all the little fundraising packets at all the open houses and back to school nights.
we're working on that.
That'll, in the next 2 weeks, I
Yep.
think, is every school almost, so.
Yep, so we're busy. Everything is available digitally. The fundraising information, the volunteer information is on the recreation page. There are links, and anyone who'd like to volunteer goes to ohiolionsclub.com. Yeah,
Yes.
and they can sign up there for volunteer shifts. We're gonna have a calling bank on the 20th. to call everybody to schedule their shifts. So if anyone would like to participate in that, we're looking for people to man phones at Coldwell Banker. So if any of you guys want to help with that, that's great. What else?
The existing play structure
Good.
is being removed next week, or the process is beginning next week. I believe they're closing the playground on the 8th, so next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna put the fence up.
Yeah, so that I think will drum up a lot of
And tell
lot
them
of
where
shock and awe.
and tell them where it's
everything.
going.
Yes, and it's actually all being donated to Montessori is taking it.
One piece is going, I hear, to the Valley Oak
Valley
Charter,
Oak Charter.
but we don't know what piece it is.
Yeah,
Baldwin?
yes.
Are you reaching out to private schools too, Adam? When you said the flyers of the
We haven't yet.
school nights?
Somebody, you know what, that brings up a good point, because somebody in Miners Oaks, the Christian church on El Roblar, was
CLC.
asked, CLC,
CLC.
was asked if they wanted it, and they were under the impression that somebody else was already getting it. So I don't
Oh,
know.
I'm talking about.
He's talking about you're
Yeah,
getting,
we're two different things here.
yeah, you're talking
Oh,
about volunteering
I'm
and
talking about
donation.
outreach.
Yeah.
Outreach.
Oh,
Not for the.
I know that we have actually outreach to the churches. I know that Allison sent stuff out to all the different churches in town on that front. But as far as private schools, I know that Mac sent it out to, I think, some of the people at OVS, but I don't think we've specifically gone to the private schools. I know that looking for volunteers, we had somebody come in who was gonna work on looking at getting some Thatcher students possibly to come down on the volunteer side of things. I reached out to a Villanova parent in the hopes that maybe kids there might like to come and do a
Yeah,
little
they get credit for
community
that,
service.
for community
Right.
service credit.
The older
Sure.
kids mostly, I
If they
mean,
can- Yeah.
Is there a
Reach out.
age?
I
well,
can
yeah,
reach out
they
to
can
Oak
all- they
Grove,
have to be a
OVS,
certain
and
age.
Villanova, so.
okay,
to
you'll
be
do
in
Oak
there.
Grove, okay.
But
14 or
if we
older.
want, I can get some Ventura High School people.
Yeah, some Bonnie kids.
To get some Bonnie kids.
Yep,
I get
that's great.
Football players.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell them you're gonna help. They have to do community service.
So I think finding as many of those opportunities as we can would be great. So if anybody has direct connections.
How are we looking on volunteers as far as how many shifts?
We still
or-
need a lot more, but we're doing well. I think, hopefully more and more people will become more aware of the project when we pull the playground out.
Yeah, and I heard actually quite a few people last night saying, well, maybe I'll just take the whole week off of work. So,
It's amazing.
which was pretty
No,
nice
quite
to
a-
hear.
And
So.
people signing up for full days
Yeah.
in multiple days. So we have a long ways to go. We need a lot more volunteers.
Okay.
But I think we have a good
Yes.
start, a solid start to getting that together, so. What else? I think, yeah,
And childcare is going to be provided for volunteers at the rec center at
That's
Sarzati
right.
Park.
during the week, it'll be from 2 to 8, and then on the 2 weekend days, it'll be for the full day. And we're also looking for volunteers to help with childcare, help staff over at the rec department. And people to serve food, so if you're not interested in working on the job site, to serve food, sign people in, childcare, first aid, so if people have particular talents or are more interested in that.
Yeah, I
we
think
Still
it's-
have lots of slots to fill.
Did
Yeah,
they
we-
find
we
out
don't
from the
need to
Ojai
s-
CERT team whether they were gonna put some people out there? There was a question on that one meeting we had, that they were gonna have some people out there to help with first aid or something.
I don't know about that. I know that they've had some volunteers sign up who are EMTs
Okay,
through the Lions side of thing.
okay.
That's what I've heard, so I
Good.
think that they're reaching out to people who can fill those.
And our fundraising on tools and stuff is going very well.
Good.
So I just can't, I've given a report to Dave and stuff, but we're gonna meet next Wednesday and finalize a lot of the other options. We've got a lot of people that's wanting to donate to bring a saw, and they wanna do this, so it's, I think it's been a great response.
Yeah, and as we reach out to people with information about volunteering, once we have your list of what you need, they're gonna shoot that out too.
Well, just like I was telling Dave, tell them to bring anything they have. I mean, they might be more comfortable working with their own tools than they are working with something that's brand new out of a box or, semi-used and stuff. So I said, we never want to turn down a guy that comes out. That's why I'll be there. I'm gonna be taking a look at him and doing an electrical test to make sure, because we are responsible for those tools if something was to happen.
Right.
So, but we want to check them in, and if they do, they'll get a sticker that says that they're good to go and everything. And I'd like to do that every day if we can. But we'll have, I still haven't went to one other person that, that is still wanting to give more stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm waiting to hear, have we heard anything from like our other people yet? Like we were working on Ojai Lumber. Did we hear anything?
I don't
back?
think they've heard yet.
The only thing we were working on with them was the redwood. Right?
I think so,
I think that's the only thing we were directly working on
Yeah.
was on the redwood.
So but that, if we need to look at like stock lumber or somebody
Mm-hmm.
down there, then we need to,
Anyway, lots of progress.
And
Things are
just
rolling.
quick comment on the volunteers. There is a need for both people who, can work a saw and a hammer and things like that, and as well as somebody who, if you do not have any of those skills, there are plenty of volunteering
Plenty of jobs.
opportunities out there,
shovel
so.
and a rake and.
Well, or helping
Passing
with the
water.
care and feeding of
Passing water,
volunteers,
too, yeah.
or like
Yeah.
you said, the childcare, whatnot, so.
Yeah, you don't have to be.
A constructor, a
construction
builder,
mind. You-
right.
We got a ton of other stuff
Yeah.
out there. So
Well, and-
hydration stations, food.
And we've had, that's another thing we should cover. Dawn Shook is the head of that
Yeah, she's done a
committee.
great job.
And she has done a great job. And I don't have a list of who all has donated, but she has gotten food donated from all over the valley for these meals to feed everybody, and she's already got it locked in. So food
Yeah.
is set for the whole
For the
week.
whole week.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Which is very impressive,
It's
and
crazy. great.
if I knew the names, I would say them, but I'm not sure who all it is at this point, but I'm sure we'll be sure to really work on recognition
bet.
for all those
Yeah.
people who are donating food in all the restaurants and businesses. Yeah, done.
Yeah, a lot of volunteers already involved in this effort.
That's tremendous. Just to see the team that's in place to do the thing. Not even counting the people in the public that's came forward and said, I want to be a part of it. It's a
Yeah.
big event. It's a big thing here, so.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's good? Okay, that's all I have, sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
a Rambling update.
Okay. The 5-year capital.
So I'm kind of curious how the commission would like to approach this. To a certain extent, it's always a bit of a chicken and an egg exercise, and just about when you kind of set your sight on the numbers, then they change quite a bit. And of course, what adds to the challenge is, beyond fiscal year 15-16, it's really all just projections, including what I've provided you on the sheets here. So, I think it would be somewhat problematic if we just kind of focus on the numbers here. And again, there's good information here. So I'm not exactly sure how you want to approach this. I guess what I'm trying to say is, it might be valuable to approach this in terms of really for the commission to kind of state what their priorities are. I know that's a little difficult because you don't always know how the funding is going to shake out. I think a couple of things that you might be able to at least provide some ballpark parameters to maybe help you with this. What we've stated or what the practice has been is we've been trying to put $50,000 a year about from the capital improvement plan towards recreation improvements. And then beyond that, we've been adding to that any of the under budgeting that we've had from the prior fiscal year. And again, that's what we talked about earlier tonight with that 107,000, which was significantly more than what we've seen in past years. So we don't know that we're going to be able to sustain that. That's why in a lot of these, that number tends to vary a little bit. Sometimes you'll see it as 30, sometimes you'll see it as 40. And a lot of times the way that these things get worked out is as you get closer to a project and you see exactly what it's going to cost, and then there's this mad game to kind of scramble around and, make everything work. And of course, some funds are restricted in terms of what you can use them on and whatnot, like the AB 939 or the community block grant funds. Obviously you can't just move those from one project A to project B because they might not be eligible. So having said all that, again, you can't bank on anything, but I think you can roughly guesstimate that you're looking somewhere in the neighborhood of, if you take that 40 or 50 and then maybe figure there's another 40 or 50 that should be continuing to come from the rec budget. Again, that's wishful thinking. So you're looking at somewhere around, $80,000 a year that we at least at this point, think we could probably say that we could put towards recreation capital improvements. And then just to add the further wrinkle and complication to all this is those other funds that we talked about with the 939 and the CDBG, because again, they're really not interchangeable. So, looking at all this, I think you can really kind of get caught up and confused trying to make this all work out and pencil out, because like I said, after 15, 16, it's really just a projection in terms of what we're seeing out there and what our best guesses are and what we can fund. So how you want to go forward with that, I'm not exactly sure.
Wouldn't it be sensible for us to hold off until we get the master plan to see what they may have want, or maybe we need to do, and then move forward on that? And then if we can't meet those obligations, or do you want numbers?
It seems, and I'm thinking out loud here, it seems like there's maybe kind of two things right now that we're dealing with. One, obviously, we've got this long-term capital improvement plan. We've adopted the one for 15, 16. We'll be obviously going through the budget process again in the spring to try and nail down next year's budget for 16, 17. But in the short term, we've also got these other potential projects that we've addressed, and it is a little tough right now because we've got that $67,000, and we don't know how much the Libby project might pull from that. And so you figure, well, you got at least $17,000 to play with there. And I think Vice Chair Entner's comment was correct. I think the council would probably like to hear sooner rather than later in terms of what the commission's recommendations would be on how we use those funds that aren't committed at this time. So I would agree with you, maybe not too much pressure at this point to try to come up with a recommendation for the future fiscal years. Just begin, those are a couple of years off. It's nothing immediate.
Exactly.
Council's going to be looking at that a little bit later in the year, but we do have these other monies out there. And as it's been stated, we do have some identified needs and some projects to go forward.
I'm looking at two documents when I'm doing this. I'm looking at the one docket that I don't know that everybody has, which was the one we presented that was our version of recommended capital improvement projects. And then there's the capital improvement plan, the city adopted.
Right.
I think they're two different things. Maybe we need a different name. I think ours is looking into the future. It's what we'd like to do right now if we had more money. It's projects that we want to see moved up here that aren't up there, as.
Well, then I
and
think we
we've-
should go by our priority list then.
And I think this, we aren't gonna have, I think what the only effects we would have on this at this point is possibly that $17,000 and moving that up onto here and saying this is what we'd like to spend. But I think we keep working on our version as a living document and adding things as
we go.
as our priorities change, or as
Exactly.
we see influences externally that make more sense and in a reasonable fashion. So I don't,
We're not have to reinvent the list again. We've got.
exactly, and we can move things around, understanding how much
I
money is
think
gonna
that's a
come in here
perfect
and how's
idea.
that. And so I think we continue to discuss it, regularly. And I think
And
that,
there may be a need for something coming up,
that we don't foresee yet.
We don't proceed yet.
But I do think putting it in years is a way for us to show where we see it happening and how important it is. And I think instead of just having a list, we stick to this document and we can move things around. And again, it's only a recommendation from this commission, but it should reflect the priorities that we're setting.
Exactly.
And so this document, I think, is worth discussing.
Yeah, I was going to say too that I think most, maybe all of what's on this document, if we were just to priority rank it and show kind of, we think this is going to fit into the first year, second year, third year, it really doesn't matter what the budget is each year. We just say, okay, we've got this much budget. These are the top 3 things on our list. And then the next year we move down to the next 4. I don't know if there would be, like, if we thought about it, well, if it was a lean year, would we change our priorities?
Right, would we hold on to it and look to do something bigger later?
Yeah,
As we're getting
it-
closer to doing Sarzodi, which is on for 18, 19, those
Right.
2 or 3 years before, do we decide we want to just pool our money and push it that direction? I mean, but those are all the discussions that we should have here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as long as we have that
Right.
priority list, then we can just say, well, whatever amount there is available, let's chip
Let's
off.
look and see what we can
that's-
do. Yeah.
These top things.
So I think that discussion we can have regularly, and I think it'll change for us, and then when we change our understanding of this, we just send it forward again as, you know, this is our recommended project list, and here's the timing we would be looking at, with the absolute understanding that the money might not be there. But if the money is there, here are the things we'd like to do, and we can explain why and where it fits in. Because I think the hope with a lot of this stuff too is that we are able to place it on the actual CIP in the future. But I think unless we have it somewhere showing where we're looking to put it in priority in you know, the upcoming years, it's not going to make it up there. So as far as discussion, I think we're not ready to do that tonight for the $17,000. There's too much in flux, and in a month or two, we're gonna have a much better understanding of what there's left to spend, so there's no rush to spend before we have I totally buy that. I just don't want it to wait 6 months.
Oh, no, definitely.
I mean, I want this back on the
But I
on
think
the agenda.
we need to wait until after this big project. because
Exactly.
we might be
So
pulling everything.
November, December, somewhere in there, we come back, well, this is what we have.
Exactly.
Let's pick some
That's
projects.
fine with me.
Okay.
Is it fair to say we could probably do it in October?
I don't know. It usually seems like things are
But we're
still in
still,
flux.
we wouldn't even have the project
We
complete.
won't
Right, but
have
the
finished
project's gonna be
fundraising
like
then.
4 days out, so we should have a pretty good idea. don't
Well,
you
but
think?
we're still gonna fundraise, you know, the fundraising will go through, you know, we're at the, you know. I
Agreed,
would.
but we'll know if we're, you know,
I think
10
I
grand
would-
off, or we're still,
Well,
you
yeah.
know, 40 grand,
That's true.
you know?
How about we put it back on and discuss it then?
I think we would have a
And then
pretty,
if-
pretty
We
good
don't want to
idea.
If
discuss
we're-
it then, we
Then
go
we
to
can
November.
just table it till the next month,
That's fine.
but it doesn't
If
fall off. I
Staff
like
doesn't know
that.
how close we are on, you know, and we don't know on donations and all that
Mhm. Okay, so we put it back on the agenda for
for
October.
October.
And then we'll decide then whether it's something we're gonna make recommendations on, or just table it till the next time and.
Yeah, that
move
sounds good.
forward. Okay.
And, yeah,
Yeah.
Got it.
All right.
perfect. Staff reports.
Let me address the budget really quick, because I just got these numbers today, and I haven't had a chance to go through them, and the finance director and I had to discuss a couple things. So I don't want to put something out there that's going to have questions or an error in it that I'm not going to be able to address. But long and the short of it, we're very confident about that $107,000 figure. Everything looked really good. So, but just a couple things that we need to work out first. So, and I just got those today.
So
So
we'll hear about that next month too.
we can bring that back.
That'll
Yeah.
be good.
That's great, though.
But
Yeah.
I
That
don't expect
107.
don't expect much to change there.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to put something out that I can't really address. So,
But that is good news.
yeah, yeah,
Very good news.
yeah. So those were like the numbers that have, you know, now gone through like the second pressing. So we're pretty confident with those.
Excellent. Summer camps?
Oh, sure. You want some totals. So, our participation totals this summer were 2,322. That means weeks purchased, if you will, whether it was specialty camps, someone was in swim, day camp. So of those 2,322 children that participated, could have been duplicated, some non-duplicated, but of those 2,322 participants, 16, let's give you rough numbers, 1,600 were resident, 700 were non-resident. Compared to the previous summer, we had a total, okay, I'll go back to the total of 2,322 participants. This summer, last summer, it was 1,907. So you're looking at an increase from last summer to this summer of 415 participants, so, or weeks purchased, if you will. This fiscal year, and of course, what was easily follows is our revenue was for all between aquatics and day camp and specialty camps was 120,000, just over 120,000, and the previous fiscal year it was 86,000. So Clearly, this summer was one of our best is in as many years. I can actually tell you a little bit of summer history, if you will. So in 12-13, we were at 93,000. 13-14, we were 86,000, and now 15-16, 120,000. So it is over previous 2 summers. It's been over 12-13 was 26,000 more this summer, and over last summer we were 33,000 more in revenue for the summer. So lots of great new programs that help that along, wilderness particularly, but even the ones that we offer summer after summer, they just increased in numbers, and so did our day camp. So really pleased with all those results, and the feedback we got from parents was positive, or positive. And as you saw, I missed the joint meeting, but the horsemanship program had full camps each week. The surf camp program had full numbers each week. So a lot of positive numbers and things there. And just to give you back to budget, just looking over those first 2 months of the budget. So for July and August, we were at 80,000 last year, just in the first 2 months of the fiscal year. And in the first 2 months of this fiscal year, we're at we're at 90,000 last year. We're at 120,000 in the first 2 months of this fiscal year. So
Very good.
already a slight uptick in revenue in this fiscal year.
That's a huge.
And again,
That
yeah,
is, I mean,
That's great.
yeah, and again, that kind of is because of the big summer push, I think. So that's it on summer programs. Do you have any questions about summer? I know I watched part of that video or the video of the meeting, and Sage really represented well. I mean,
Sunday.
Sunday
Yeah,
really. Sorry,
Sunday
pardon
did
me.
a great job.
Yeah, Commissioner Rylander represented well there on
Definitely.
all the great programs we have and all the success that the department had this summer and throughout the year, actually. So that's all I have on summer. Do you have any questions about any of the programs? And
Congratulations.
I know, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
though. That's
good work.
a lot of kudos to all the good instructors we had and hardworking rec department staff.
I know we said it a couple months ago, but the difference over the last few years has been amazing. So
Tremendous.
fantastic job.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, again, I don't take all the credit, nor wouldn't dare to, because we got a lot of good staff there.
Good team.
Yeah, really good team.
Quality team.
A lot of great day camp staff too. Good counselors.
Great.
Yeah.
Programming?
Yep. So some programming updates. We have our flag football league that we're trying to promote and push right now. The league is scheduled to begin on September 19th. That's Saturday, September 19th. So we're hoping if we got parents out there watching this Park and Rec Commission meeting, please come in and register your child for that program. The first scrimmage is actually September 12th. So we're hoping to really build that program up. We struggled with numbers last year, and so we'll see what happens in this fall season. And if you look, we'll just jump to the activity guides, because I can, between program and class updates, you can just, if you go to page 12, 13 of your activity guide, you'll see we have more movie nights that we'll be offering. So the first parent night out movie night, which is where you can drop your child off for $10. They get movie, pizza, popcorn, drink. The first movie is September 11th, The Little Rascals. So classic. So if parents out there and you're looking for a night out, you can just drop off at the rec department at 6 p.m. Movie starts at 7, and childcare till 9. So from 6 to 9, you have 3 hours of childcare plus dinner for the child, just for $10. And then you can see we have some teen movie nights on page 13. So we're hoping to again promote those and get some interest from our teens. We don't have any dances advertised in this activity guide, but we're thinking in the winter, the January-April guide will promote maybe another dance or two then, depending on what the schools have going on.
I think he will in the form of a water dance.
What's that?
I think he's going to give us a water dance in those months.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, that's a great indoor activity. They can come and
That's right.
be inside, get away from El Nino. And you'll just continue, to flip through the next few pages are all the classes that we're going to be offering in the fall. Unfortunately, the ballet that we have offered, the company All-American Ballet, closed down their company, so we're not going to be, we won't have ballet, but we will advertise to try to get a new ballet instructor for that class. So once again, I'm only mentioning it in this venue to let people know we are looking for a ballet instructor.
Have we
to
ever
fill that
reached
spot.
out to Starlight Dance?
We haven't reached out to them because they're very aware of us, and they,
Yeah, of course.
yeah. And you could say we're their competition in a way.
I was just
I
curious
don't know.
about,
I don't know if
again, rather
they-
than running 2 programs like we do for baseball or something like that, about partnering up,
Yeah, they're a private business.
Of course.
Would they be
I will-
willing? Would they be willing to partner with us? I'm
You
not
know,
sure.
you'd have to talk to them. My daughter's been in that for years out there, but I would, rec versus the type of dance and stuff, they would have to basically come together. I don't know if they would, I mean, it would be a great opportunity for the city to go into partners with them. But
Sure it would.
I don't know how that would work, but it is very intense.
It is a very intense
Intense
program.
program.
I'm familiar with it when my daughter was younger.
Yeah,
She
very
actually
intense
participated in that
Yeah.
program. So, I guess it wouldn't hurt to reach out and
I was just curious,
ask if
'cause I
they
know
would
it's
want to
obviously a
have like it.
very full
It could be a
program,
feeder
so-
program for
Right.
them potentially. But yes, we are going to be reaching out to other ballet instructors or companies. There's another company in Ventura too that we could potentially partner with. But yeah, you can just peruse through that fall activity guide and see all the programs that we'll be offering. But again, we have quite a wide range of activities.
Have you already reached out to some companies, or you're still?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
We're gonna advertise on our Facebook page that we are looking for a ballet instructor, and probably Craigslist as well.
Okay, I was just curious, since it's already in the brochure.
Well, it
I
went,
know the
unfortunately.
timing, unfortunately, was
Yeah,
bad,
it went
but-
in the guide, and then they
Then that happened.
realized
No,
they
I
weren't-
understand.
yeah.
So you are actively, though, looking to fill it as soon as you possibly can?
Right, it won't happen in this first, the first, I think, class is
September 9th through
September.
October 21st.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen
That
for this.
session won't happen, but you're
It
going to
won't
work
happen
to
for
fill
that first
the-
session, but we're looking to get it filled by the next.
Did
'Cause it
did we
didn't
have good turnout in previous classes or signed up for this?
We did have to refund about 4 or 5 people that had already registered.
So there is interest in the community out there if we
Oh,
can
yeah.
find an
Previous
instructor.
sessions, you had good
Yes.
turnout, yeah.
There was a pretty decent turnout for the classes that they ran for us
So
previously.
so we've got some track record here. We're not just asking somebody to come in
Come
with the
in.
hope that we're going to be able to get enough people to support a
I think
class.
it was a great,
Exactly.
it was a good class.
Yeah,
You guys
it
were
was,
having.
it was
had
well
a lot of
attended.
people.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. So, yeah,
That can be a
as I
selling
said, we
point.
already had people register for it that we had to refund for the class, so we'd like to bring it back. But all is well. Next probably next Park and Rec Commission meeting, I'll ask Trevor Cox, one of our newest rec specialists, to come in and introduce him. We'll introduce him to you guys, and you guys can grill him over with his background and experience and get to know him a little better. But we're very happy to have Trevor and Caitlin, who's been with us now for a little over a year. So they've really made their strong contributions to the department as well.
Great.
Any questions about the activity guide or classes or programs that we're offering?
No, I think it all looks great.
That's great.
I just have a general question. We have certain programs where we have it for youth and it's 7 to 12, and then we have an adult and it's 18. I'm just like, for
Oh, you
instance,
mean
I'm
like
just
a gap?
looking.
Give me a for.
I'm looking at the yoga. Like, there's yoga for adults and there's yoga for youth, and we cut it off at 12.
Yeah.
And then we started up at 18 again. And I just look at a class like yoga, and I'm like, well, this is pretty much a class that any age could do.
Yeah.
And have we ever considered lowering the age for adults and maybe moving up the age? You know, I don't know. It just
Trying to not have
trying to
any
not
gap
have those
at all.
gaps for certain things. I mean, I know with certain sports, it's obvious you need these cutoffs and it's hard and fast and they age differently. But things like yoga are different, you know.
Well, once
just a
again,
thought.
the teen.
Well,
crowd.
It's that gap
And you
again,
notice
yeah.
we don't
Well,
really
but-
offer a lot to the older.
We don't. And so I when I'm looking at this, I was just looking like yoga seems a really obvious place that I don't think it's a safety issue.
No.
I mean, I think you could maybe go to 7 to 13 or something and then go, you know, 14
Well, there's even
for
like,
adult.
we've
Well,
asked.
sometimes it's space.
Okay.
It's space contingent. So
Well, that's,
trying to. Otherwise, you're going to have then you're going to be 7 to 17 in one group. So some of it is trying to class space.
But I think we shouldn't, I hear what you're saying,
Well,
but I think
it's a-
that should be then a first come,
come.
first serve, but everyone has the opportunity.
so I think the question, yeah, I think it's an interesting question. Do you,
I'm just looking
You-
at it and I was thinking, well, it'd be interesting
Right.
for, you know, teenagers to be able to take this, but this isn't a class that we offer for teenagers.
right?
Right,
Like-
but we could if,
an
again,
example-
some of it gets down to
Well-
class space. So you had to, we have a Friday window of time.
Well, but why not add them to the adults? And then it's first come, first serve.
Right,
Because they
on
have
a-
a more flexible schedule as they get older anyway to do it. I'm just thinking we need to look at it creatively.
You mean
Yeah,
on a
we-
drop-in, you mean for like on the drop-in for yoga?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
just let
the-
it go to 14 or 15
Try and
through it.
minimize that
Well,
gap. And then you're leaving
I think
out
you-
junior high kids when you start to do that, which is a group we really
I don't know
wanna
why
get in
you
there.
need to, we'll talk about it, but I don't,
I'm just bringing it up because.
yeah, I don't think I think it'd be good to eliminate the gap. I agree
Yeah.
with you. I think you could, I guess the question is, do you either say that one group is, everybody under 18, and then maybe the other way you could do it would be that you could attend the adult class if you're accompanied by a parent or guardian. I
Right.
don't
So
know.
but
So
we should,
wanna
but
talk
I
about
would like
that.
to see us move
But yeah.
away from that gap.
Well, and
Yeah, I get the
I'm just
point.
looking at a lot of these different things, and I think we've talked about this before, is like guitar or keyboard. I'm sure there's some older folks out there, including myself, that would want to, but you only can go up to 13 years of age.
Right. Yes, again, it comes down
some of that
to-
might come down to the instructor and kind of
It
what,
does.
When they
Some-
want a program.
right.
Right, who they
right.
want to teach to, but also, again, you're going to have you could go 7 to any, and older. But, some parents.
No, I absolutely think
don't
there needs to be a
want
cutoff.
7-year-old with a 25-year-old,
Yeah,
or
no, I-
the 25-year-old doesn't want to be with the 7-year-old.
Sure,
And then
right.
you're talking about space. Again, a lot of it actually comes down to space. I'm sure the instructors would say, okay, I'll do a 7 to 13, I'll do a teen class, and I'll do an adult class. And they all could do that. It really comes down to space right
I think it
now.
also comes down to practices, not to be awful, but this is the way we've always done it. This is the way we've approached it.
that-
And so I think we need to stand back a little, and I don't mean right
little
now,
bit.
and I
No,
don't mean immediately.
We'll talk
And
about it.
We'll just talk about it later, but
Yeah.
I actually absolutely think there needs to be a cutoff for me. I don't want to send my kids who are 12 or under with kids that are older. I think that is a natural line. 12 years old is like a pretty natural place to cut it off, because after that, things are really changing.
So you're thinking maybe you put the older folks with the option of going with the older group then,
Yeah.
for older than
I
12.
mean, if you could
the
do a
adults.
separate class, you may or may not be
Right.
able to, great.
Right.
But if you can't, you give those kids at least an option
Sure.
to go older.
Yeah,
I think I mean, it's helpful to hear that there is a space constraint, right? That it's not just that we don't have enough participants to do more classes or something like that. That's
Yeah.
good to know for long term.
Yeah.
Can we,
And it's definitely something we can consider with the instructors and
Right.
ask them to include that teenage group with the adult group. Maybe, yeah. May
Right.
not be opposed.
Do you think there are any kind of unused time space slots, or are we full?
We're pretty full.
Mhm.
In those slots that aren't filled are usually like Friday afternoon or
Right.
Friday night they are filled actually with
Yeah.
movies and dodgeball, but, so it's, yeah, they're full. In that multi-purpose room, every afternoon and every evening, there's something going on in that room. Well, except for ballet now.
I think truly, we need to broaden our, and look at older activities. Maybe we reach out to the women's club and have something over there, classes over there or something too, if we don't have room. So, but I think we really need to open it up a little bit more. I think we're kind of limiting ourselves.
Yeah, we definitely appeal to that 6 to 12,
Mhm.
13-year-old, and then after that, again, I wouldn't disagree with you that we have a teen offering issue.
I think part of it-
Maybe, I don't know if there's that demographic is too busy during the school year, are they just too busy with high school, they already have their extracurricular activities set already, or would they be interested in a guitar class or a yoga class?
But I think though that
Do
we
they have time for it?
You know what else is an opportunity that I see, just looking at it from a different view, is independent PE is becoming a much more common component of education for kids at the junior high level and at, even in high school. Kids more and more often are taking advantage of independent PE programs, and they have to be a licensed facility with insurance. And so because I was actually just looking at it from that point of view, because I'm looking for some independent PE options. And so I was just looking at yoga going, well, that could be an option. But so that's just another place to look. I know Matilaha now has more and more kids doing independent PE so that they can do music and an elective.
Yeah,
Because it's the only way they can fit it in. Because you have gymnastics kids right now.
We've had 2 or 3 of our gymnastics
Right.
participants or have done that. And of course, the charter schools, we've been partners with Golden Valley. Golden Valley Charter School. And we've also now partnered with a new charter school, Sage Oak. I think it's Sage Oak Charter School. Anyway, we've become a vendor for them where that is their
Right.
PE or extracurricular.
So there might be more opportunities for that also in an after-school setting, which you're really busy, but it's something to think about maybe even at school campuses to offer something that meets those needs. Because that's getting at the teenage group in a way where they actually are looking for something, like an opportunity to bring them in through something they need. But I'm just throwing it out there.
No, actually, you bring up a great point. Like, could we partner directly with the school, Matilaha, and say, hey, can we use one of your classrooms or your cafeteria? We'll send an
Creative.
instructor over to your school and do yoga in the cafeteria or your gym.
We have opportunities for independent PE. We could do this, and this. And it might not take off immediately, but I think that's a trend that's happening more and more because I know Matilaha wasn't as open to that before, but now there's a lot of kids who are doing, so they want kids to be able to do electives and music. And so I know Ventura now has I think they have almost like a vendor list of sort of, places you can go that meet the standards. So anyway, just another way to maybe.
Those are great suggestions, and we're constantly working, of course, with our instructors to give more offerings. It's again, I see horsemanship is still that age group that we talk about. Well, in that particular one, it says 7 and older, but we primarily get the 7 to 13-year-old. But she was just Fridays, and then she said, well, let's add a second day. Let's add Wednesdays. And it's actually, it was something very simple, but now she has numbers in both of those days, but it was also scheduling.
It looks
for her,
great, and
too.
I think the brochure looks great, and I think there's all kinds of offerings for just about anyone at this point, so.
Yeah, well, we're pretty
It looks
proud
good.
of it, but
Mhm.
yeah, we can always reach out to more people. That's for sure.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. And if I remember correctly, I think the conversation was that teen group can be just already busy enough with everything they have going on. But I definitely don't think it would hurt to maybe change some of the age groups or something just so they can be included if they choose.
Yeah, start at just little steps.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we need to create a whole new pamphlet for them, but
So, yep, and I'll just reiterate, thank you for the input. So, that's Saturdays, no, is that Friday? Sorry, on my movie night. Is that,
Fridays, I think. Fridays.
yeah.
So, question, are we gonna revisit
Friday,
the,
September 11th.
yeah, are we gonna revisit the dances once school starts like we talked about, or are we?
We are.
Okay.
But I
Just curious.
mentioned, yes, I mentioned for the January, April, activity guide, we'll put
Gotcha,
a
okay.
dance
About the
or
Halloween
two in it. We just want a little opportunity to, it didn't work in the summer, and we're just blaming it on the summer months and people
It was
just
new.
not
Yeah.
being available.
Takes a
or
while.
being But we will revisit it and get dates in there once we check with the schools to see what
Of
their
course, yeah.
programming is and what,
Mhm.
if they have dances going on, we don't want to obviously compete with them, so.
Right.
Or clash with what they've got going on.
Okay,
That's it.
excellent.
Anything else?
It looks really good.
Yeah, it looks great.
Thanks.
Commissioner reports? Anybody?
I think we gave ours.
I think we keep going. Okay.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I visited the gymnastics yesterday. It's very impressive. I know, a lot of kids having a good time and doing impressive stuff. I did talk to Stacy a little bit about, kind of like we've talked about, they do all their own fundraising. And she was told, I think when she started the program 20 plus years ago, that like they would have to do all their own fundraising. And she didn't even know that we've been discussing, possibly using some of our capital improvement funds. Not much more to say than that, but it definitely seems like there's things she might be interested in.
Well, we have an equipment list that we've talked to them about, but I think the fundraising is for all these other events and stuff that I think that's necessity.
I think it was equipment.
Yeah, we will, I'm sure we'll help them and
Yeah.
continue to help them with I think that's what we put up in there, was there's a couple things that they
Yeah,
wanted.
I
I
think
think we had
put,
10,000 on
like,
there is what we
Yeah.
allocated that we'd like to put
5
forward.
or
So
10.
as the money, as we figure out what we've got to spend, that's going to come up as a discussion, I think.
Yeah, it's actually on the Park and Rec Commission wish list for CIP. It's on there for this fiscal year, 15, 16. So might be something that we might be able to do.
Yeah, which would be
Yeah,
very
some-
That'd be
some of
exciting.
the-
It's so exciting.
Some of their
Yes.
fundraising is
This
for
year.
competitions.
Events,
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
camp, like they go to a camp every summer, so some of that fun, it's not
Yeah.
all for equipment, but.
No,
a
but
good
the-
portion
But
of
we
it
haven't
is.
bought the equipment yet.
Right.
No,
this-
like,
We don't
So-
spend money on their equipment,
Yeah.
is, I think.
We have, that has not been a purchase out of a
it
city
I don't
is-
think it was available in the past.
Yeah.
it is true,
Right.
that we don't. It's done by the parent group, and it's just been one of those things that,
Cruised
it's always
along.
been done that way,
That's
kind
why we
of
have to
thing.
keep looking at things.
Great,
Well, thank you for going.
thanks.
It is fun. It's amazing, all the energy in that room.
Yeah, our daughter loved it. City Council liaison, Councilmember Haney.
Keep it short, Randy.
Let me preface this though with, last week or last month, I left my phone here.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so don't let me forget it. I have a couple questions. Well, first of all, let me start with some good things. I thought the joint session was the best that I've participated from that side as now from this side. Now, it was just incredible. It really was. And I think I think some things that weren't said that contributed to the success of this department. We can all say, obviously, Steve and Sophocles and the staff and the commission, but the negativity surrounding the Recreation and Parks Department has left this community, period. And so there is nothing but forward-thinking and moving this department forward. That's why I think that's one of the biggest reasons that the success rate has imploded, is there's just the negativity that surrounded it 3-4 years ago just isn't there. And that's a big part to you guys and a big part to Steve and to Sophocles and staff. So, and again, the presentation was excellent. The interaction was positive. I loved it. So, Sophocles, I just had a couple questions. First of all, I also wanted to say this. You know, we don't know what to call this excess money, but it is CIP money.
Right.
I think that's what you should call it. And I think that we've made it clear that that money is going back to the department. So it's CIP funds.
Right.
That's, so we're not dallying around what is it? You know, it's CIP funds, and it's your funds. So, so that's a good thing. Let me get my glasses. Probably got my phone too. Here's a complete thought. How do you? So I was going to ask Sophocles the difference between, you know, I know you did football last year.
Yes.
And you did it strictly through the grammar schools, correct? Each of them were supposed to come up with a team,
That's correct.
and didn't have a lot of success with that.
That would be a fair statement.
So I'm just saying, what are you doing differently this year than what you did last year?
We're not. We're trying to keep it just school-based.
So you're
But-
doing the same
but-
thing that you didn't have any success with the
Well-
previous year, you're doing it again this year. I just
Well,
wanted to bring that up.
We're,
Just-
we're going with the motto, Randy, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
It-
But let me respond to where I think you might be going. We've had discussions about operating it differently, like we do basketball. Just everyone register according to your age division, 3rd, 4th grade, 5th, 6th, middle school, whatever. And then we'll form the teams, and we'll do it that way. And we may even go that way this year, because if we don't have the numbers, it will force our hand a little bit to do it that way. We like it, you know, it's always been that way with the schools, because it was school pride, and you put your teams together, and it was exciting for those schools to represent their school and to compete with other schools. It was a nice format. And then, as you know, we had a person leave the department, start his own flag football program. So, and it left the department. So it's only been last year. It's only been 1 year since it's been back, quite
Okay.
in its defense.
I don't want you to have to defend your program. All I'm trying to say is, I just wanted to know what you were doing differently.
Well,
And the response is, you're not.
We're
So-
not.
So, okay, that's fine.
We're not.
What about the kid that goes to OVS and wants to play flag football?
Yeah.
Those private schools, if there are kids interested, will combine those schools, because usually they don't. But Ojai Valley School, there's a school right now, actually it's Oak Grove, that's going to be able to put enough players together to form their own
Wow.
team. So, but like schools like OVS and, sorry, not Montessori, well, even Montessori, but the other school out in.
Monica Ross?
Thank you, Monica Ross, will combine their players as one, like a private school team, if they don't have enough players of their own.
Do you think that part of this is also the schools have gotten smaller and some of these campuses are smaller and have?
no, because I was just going to bring this up. My son is now playing on the Eagles, Ojai Eagles, and numbers have exploded.
Okay.
We've got the lower division now, the ones you would get, and the thing that
Taking all our players.
we're taking, well, yeah, because to
I
be
mean,
honest
there's only a small contingent of kids anyway in the valley.
the problem with the
those
valley
interests-
is a lot of kids are friends with the kid on this side of the town, and they don't want to play for this team, and they're on another team. They would like to play together. I think that that's a grand idea for you to look at pulling them in, just like we do at baseball, and you picking your teams.
Sure. Well, after this.
I can
after
tell you
this-
right-
after
I can
this-
tell you right now,
Here's
you've got
another-
about 65.
Here's another aspect of it. there's a lot of parents today that don't want their children in a collision sport.
Right.
And personally, from a father who had his son in a collision sport early on, I would not recommend that to any parent. And I love football. But I think that there's an age group out there that we're just not tapping into, and that's that 13 or 12 and under, where the reality is, if these kids could learn the fundamentals of the game and learn how to play it safely and learn how to interact and collide a little bit, because you are going to do that even in flag football. But it just encourages the proper development so that when they do get into ninth grade, they're not running out there in uniforms for the first time, really getting banged up. So I'm just saying, I think there's an opportunity there without it just being, get your own team. And then going back to the private schools, are they allowed to recruit? So, I'm joking. But I don't want to beat that to death.
Well,
The other thing I wanted to talk to is, we were talking about class sizes and talking about, extending ages and things like that. Do you track right now, presently, do you track ages of who's in your classes?
it's in our system.
Because it seems like one of the responses to that question would have been, that we have that information, I don't have it on me, let me get it back to you, because we should be tracking that. I would think that we'd want to know what our demographics are and who's using which class and
Sure.
things of that nature. And then it goes to the second thing, when we don't have classroom space, that just lends ourselves to the fact that we need a different recreation center. It just goes right to that. The fact that there is more need for recreational opportunity in the valley, and that we don't have the facilities to do so. So
I would say we could use a couple of more big rooms, Randy, that's for sure.
And then that also takes you to Soul Park. And the fact that Soul Park has an equestrian center. Soul Park has a large picnic area. Soul Park has a large turf grass area. So that facility lends itself to additional
have tennis
programming
courts, don't they?
that I think that we could tap into after we understand the ins and outs of maintenance costs and things of that nature. And even, again, what Steve said, which I agree with, is the county still interested? So that's what I'm saying. I think there's recreation is growing, and there is a need for facilities and additional programming. So I think you're aware of that.
I am, I think we've almost reached capacity.
Then I had a question on gymnastics.
Just jump on that. Do you know offhand, are there programs you turn people off that are capped and say, first come, first serve?
Well, gymnastics fills.
Gymnastics.
They sometimes
Some of the
do that.
summer
Gymnastics
camps.
does, some summer camps, but pretty rare. I mean, it's pretty rare, but I would say the two we've mentioned, space on field trips. When we go on field trips, we've had a wait list now over the summer. But it's just what you've talked about, and it's worth repeating that the instructors can only offer classes to so many age groups because we only have so much space and so much time frame in that space. They probably would, half the instructors would probably offer to the elementary age, middle school, high school age, and adult age if we had a little more space.
Okay, then that brings up a great point of why aren't we out there with the school districts getting a room or getting their cafeteria or something like that? Because the colleges do it. They bring up here and they do a college class up here.
That was going to be my next question is, we had our first session with the Ojai Unified School
Boards,
District
yeah.
for the first time in the existence of it. And maybe the outreach from this commission is to the PTA groups on these, in these schools. As far as being able to interact with what are their needs and what do we have to offer, and what can we offer if we could utilize your facilities. And I don't think that's gonna come from the city council and the school board.
No.
It's gotta come at the grassroots level, which are teachers, students, park facilities, recreation directors.
But I think the council level is getting the starting of the discussion of the
Shared.
joint use. Because
So-
whether we know exactly what we're gonna do or not, there absolutely is an opportunity for joint use.
Right.
And when that capacity is available, it's amazing what will happen. So
I
that's
think-
the
but-
council
Well, not
side
like
of
that,
it.
but, you know, this
Yeah.
brings up a deal, it's additional revenue, but it is also probably is eventually gonna have to have staffing. You know, so it would be the department would have to grow.
All right.
Yeah, in order for us to do all of this stuff, but if you have the instructors, I think at one point, what was it, there was something that was taught over at, it was a regular group that came in. Anyway, it was at Nordoff, and they just used their cafeteria for that. I think it was an SAT
Oh, prep
class,
course.
prep courses. And this company came in and did that. But see why, you know what, let me give you an example. Those classes are like $800 for that series. Why couldn't we be capitalized on that by putting together something for the teens that need SAT, you know, over there? I mean, there's so many things. But as far as coming back to the recreation portion of it, I think that we're limiting ourselves by only staying with what we are. I think we need to bite a bigger bite out of the apple and take a look and see what else we can get out there. If there's even an interest out there, it might be, you know, might not want to.
I think one of the things that would be good is that the thinking has been, we do as much as we can and this as much as we can do, which totally makes sense. You're working with the resources that you have. But as you're hitting up against things from your point of view, is to start making those lists of, well, if I had 5 more slots, these are the 5 things I would put in. Because I think as you start to make those lists and we start to think about that, we will understand better what facilities would fit for those things. Or, I mean, because you're gonna know, you know, boy, I would love to have this person here more or to do this more. And if you're making those lists in your head or on a piece of paper and coming back and going, this is really where I see we need more capacity, that would be a great way to start this discussion. I think the PTA outreach is a great idea too. But that would be a great discussion to start us to help to see what facility, what we could use. Is it Nordoff at the end of the day?
Right.
Is
Is
it
it
after
Soul
school?
Park?
Is it so, what things would go where from the programming standpoints? And I absolutely think you guys are doing a great job with what you have, but it is a very limited scenario.
You,
So yeah, I think so.
talking to a person who wants to, or cover all,
Right.
we'll cover our costs, we'll be self-sufficient, self-supporting,
Well, and-
if we could. And
I
that
don't want
will, I think that will potentially only happen if we do expand, like outside of our
Well,
facility, but it's not, we'll have to start dialogue with the schools, because it's not as if we're gonna just walk into, you know, superintendent's office and say, hey, we wanna use your facility, and
Have
we
you
wanna
went
use
out?
it for free.
I think what you have to do is
Yeah.
what Sage is doing, is you gotta identify the needs.
That's right.
Because
And through the needs, you're gonna develop.
And the
everything
council
else
will
comes off
continue
that.
to develop a relationship, which is the beginning of having any joint use agreement between these two agencies. And on our end, we start to understand what it is we want and need.
Yeah, I don't think you need the city, I'll just want to say this, I don't think you need the city council's blessing to interact with the school board regarding what their needs are, what our needs are, and what each of us can provide to meet those. So that's all I'm trying to say there. Now, the other thing is on the gymnastics equipment. Who owns it? It's Recreation and Park equipment, am I correct?
I think they
It's
donate it, don't
our
they? Yeah.
program,
It is our-
am I
Yeah.
correct?
It is, that's
So
correct.
it should have
is
already
our
been
equipment.
slotted into some type of 5-year
To be
replacement
replaced.
plan.
Yep.
So that's something to think about when we're looking at next year's budget, is what are the priorities, what are their needs, and what do they, what do they need? And
Some
I'm
of
not
the
sure,
stuff doesn't look like it's in very good shape. I mean,
I'm not sure, Steve, if CIP funds can be used. We were talking about travel and things like that. I think we could refurbish facilities, and I think that we could purchase equipment. I'm not sure if we could use that money for paying for travel expenses.
Oh, I think they were talking about if we paid for equipment, then their fundraising could pay for their
That's
travel.
what I'm saying. So if we picked up the equipment side of it, that we should do,
It frees
that in
them up, so,
turn
yeah.
gives them the opportunity to use their fundraising for specific needs that they
exactly.
have. That's what I was, so I wanted to identify who owns the equipment.
Yeah, the city
The
does,
city of Ojai.
because they donate it
Okay.
to the city.
Do you, sorry, Sophocles, do you have a sense of how much they spend on equipment?
I don't.
They could
I
tell you.
don't. I could
Sure.
find out from staff,
Yeah.
or Vicky specifically, on an annual average
Do they have like
what they spend.
a fundraising committee? Do they
The
have?
parents group.
The parents.
They
So
do, the parents
and-
group and they're on
They're
the- on
fundraising all the
parents group,
time.
they have-
They're selling candy. They've got a
Yeah.
penny drive. I mean, they've got a
I
lot.
think
They
most of
fundraise
that's
a
for the
lot.
travel.
But, and again, to be fair, some of it, or I don't know what portion, I couldn't give you a percentage. I'll try to get you that information too. What percentage is spent on travel for competitions and.
I don't think it even matters. I think it's not about that. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I don't think anyone's here is concerned that they're spending some of their money on that. I think the point is that it should be the responsibility of the city to provide the equipment for such a successful program and to support it that way.
Exactly, that's one of our biggest successes that we have. So
So,
we need to, we need to have them come up with a plan
Yeah.
of 3 years out, I would like to do this because this is this date and it, you know, so,
Yeah,
You
we
know,
need a new.
that's a good
Well-
point, is they may need help with that.
yeah.
Looking, like, what is the life of this? They may not have that worked out, how to do that.
Actually,
Do
they have a pretty good grasp
Okay.
about the life of their equipment and what's new and.
So they know when they need to replace
new
it.
We
and
asked them
coming
last
and
time
what
they were
they've
here.
We
done.
did.
Yeah.
That's
And we
Presentation,
got
we
a
asked them
list.
for
where
it.
it came from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
It's not as if there's a lot of turnover in equipment with gymnastics,
It just
quite
has a
honestly.
lifespan.
It does have a lifespan.
You know, we're kind of in a different world than we were 4 or 5 years ago. And I think that's kind of true across the board for the city because, I know when I arrived here 6 years ago, there wasn't much of a philosophy in terms of sinking
No,
funds,
yeah, not at all.
equipment replacement funds, vehicle replacement funds. It was, we need this, what do we do? Can we do without it? Do we have the money? Yeah, okay, let's go buy it, or let's wait a couple of years. So, I think, the gymnastics program, much like a lot of other departments and functions of the city, have been, for a long time there, they were on their own and just trying to make ends meet. And now we're in a situation where we can actually invest in that and start thinking long terms in terms of, okay, this equipment's gonna last us 20 years, so let's
Right.
start budgeting for it now, so that when we're not in the 25th year and it's falling apart and
Crisis,
it's
yeah.
harming our program, that we've now got to, scramble around and try to maybe take something from something else, which is what ends up happening, and then your planning goes out the window. So
maybe on a staff
So I think
that
we're
would be
all
helpful.
moving in the same direction here. We just didn't have that luxury a few years back. So I don't know that they were ever asked because the opportunity really wasn't there. So,
We just know with that particular program from the beginning, that's just not the way it was set up.
right.
It's just how it was. And I think but we're in a perfect place to rectify it. And as we rectify it, we don't want to just throw money at it. We want to do exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Which is help them, staff will help them, or they can do it on their own, look at the life of every item that they have and when we're going to need to replace it. How much life does it have left? What year are we going to need to do this so that we, as we plan here and as we
Right.
plan even, some of it's maintenance possibly, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe not all of it is a capital improvement depending on the cost of the item.
Sure. And I don't know off the top of my head how much of that is replacing existing equipment or
Right.
new equipment or repairs. I don't know.
But that we have time
but-
and we have some money.
Right.
So now's the perfect time to figure that out.
Again, it goes back to that same thing. You got to identify the need. What needs to be repaired, what needs to be replaced.
But I think what would be good though
And
is to
then
give them some
prioritize it
staff
just
help.
like you, but, yeah.
Because that's not what they do.
No,
They're
but-
gymnastics instructors. They can help influence and guide the process, but it'd be nice if they had someone help them set it up.
Right, but what they do have is they do know the equipment.
Right.
And staff doesn't know
But
that.
capturing
They
it
do, capturing it over a course of 5 years.
and laying it out, just a little bit of help.
So that we can end this
Sorry.
on time? Is there anything you guys need to ask me? Thank you then.
I don't think so.
Oh, good.
Thanks, Randy.
Yeah, sure.
Sophocles, I had a question regarding something Randy brought up and being able to look at the demographics of each program and what ages are going through. Can you see if we can get that info? Because I think
Sure.
that would also help answer your question about who we're targeting. Because that would obviously just be who is participating, but that would give us an idea of, hey, we're only reaching 10% of the seniors in the valley or something to that effect,
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think it's probably also worth thinking, are there other pieces of data we should be capturing about participants besides age and resident?
Yeah.
Well, we're tracking the
active-
walk-ins and all that,
Yeah.
which we didn't used to do.
We're doing a lot,
Right.
yeah, we've had
Yeah,
got
we're at
way
least
more data than
tracking
we
all
used
our-
to.
We're tracking all our drop-in folk, but also, yeah, that ActiveNet system is
We also,
very, very good, very user-friendly, and it shouldn't be too difficult to show the demographic that you're looking for, male, female, age group, all that
That'd be great.
stuff. Color of their eyes.
and we do have some information too on
Blood
scholarships.
type, all that good stuff.
I mean, that's there
on
too.
scholarship
So
or
we
not.
have the same information about scholarships. We know where we're giving the scholarships. We
Yeah.
could get the
Good.
information out of, on
Which-
that as
Like-
well,
like
right?
The
The Ravens,
you mean who's taken, not names
not
wise,
names,
you're programming.
age, what program they're in,
Program.
gender, where that money's
Yep,
going.
that-
Well,
It's
we-
just an
again,
interesting look, because that's another
that's
group.
another
We
easy
offer
enough-
scholarships just for the youth, correct?
Yes, just for youth. yes.
So that was something we talked about a couple months ago, is partnering with like Help of Ojai. But the problem is, like, Help of Ojai offers X amount of programs, but they're free for them.
Yeah.
So something to look into or talk about at a later date would be possibly scholarships for the senior group. If it's
Yeah.
something we wanted to
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about, but, that
Because
was,
it is city, they are elite, I don't know that we can do it with the county funds.
The CDBG,
Right.
CDBG, I don't know.
is
Well-
that specific to where they're using it?
Well, that's not CDBG. We've got the county funds that they provide us for scholarships for the non-city residents. But I believe that's restricted to
That
youth per
restricted
the
to youth.
agreement with the county, just because that's the way we approached
But,
it.
and sometimes
Doesn't mean that
help,
we couldn't, but that's what we have
But the city
currently.
funds, I
Okay.
suppose we could, but well,
Sure, we would want to have that
we
policy
could, we'd
discussion.
have to
Uh-huh.
talk about that at a staff level, because then
Definitely.
you're going to, it's.
Right.
well, it doesn't
small
help Ojai
piece
get part of
of
the
the
CDBG
pie.
part of the time.
it is, but it's a large
They
demographic
get
of
it
Ojai,
certain
of
parts of
course.
the year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe using
So-
it already that way.
they might, yeah, I'm not sure off the top of my
I don't
head.
know.
Do you want to increase that scholarship piece of pie?
Yeah.
Like, increase the number of scholarships given and then open it up to senior,
Right, those seniors that, yeah, I mean, it's
fixed
different.
income and all that.
Right, but they could bring their senior friends that aren't on the fixed and could also donate more money, and you never know. So, different conversation, but something to think about. Future meeting dates and agenda items? Or is it 10-1?
Yeah, gosh, I didn't put the date on there, so I don't have a calendar in front of me. Whatever the first Thursday in October is. Got that handy?
I will in a
Didn't
second.
get that far.
First, what's that? First Thursday, yeah,
And
that
one.
would be,
First.
I need my glasses too.
Look at that.
The
It is the
first,
first.
it is
October 1st, there you go. So, looks like we'll be coming back with the,
Bike park?
did we say bike park for October?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, that's what she was
they're supposed
counting
to come
on,
back.
was they would come, she said they already have plans and everything, they could be ready to go.
Well,
Let me see.
I guess I would say depending on how far they get.
Well, let's put it on there, and if we have to move
Sure.
it, we'll move it, but let's leave it on there,
Okay,
I think,
Yeah,
I mean,
if she comes or says she needs more time, great, but if
Yeah.
not, she made it sound like they were almost ready.
Ready to go.
yeah.
Stool
Okay.
Park,
Yeah, sorry, could I just go through my list?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna, because
Sorry.
I've got an order here and I'm gonna get thrown off, so sorry, if I could just go through. Okay, so if the bike park, that'll be contingent on if they come forward with something. And then, Soul Park, right, we talked about, I thought we were gonna come back oh no, we went back and forth on, I thought we were going back in November on Soul Park. No, I'm sorry. It's late and I'm not seeing well. I apologize. It's been a long day. Sarzati Park Master Plan, we're gonna try to bring that back in November.
Yeah.
Yes,
Libby Park,
there'll of course be an
I'm
update.
sure they'll be.
we were planning to come back
We'll have an update for sure.
to talk to talk further about the funding. Hopefully we'll have a better idea on that. So we'll put that back on the agenda. Again, to talk about, if we can address the 17,000, we should know a little bit better what we may have had to commit to the Libby Park Playground.
Were we gonna,
And Soul Park, we were gonna bring back in October. Presentation from staff member Trevor Cox, maybe a quick update on Ojai Day. And.
were we gonna bring the CIP back, but not sure whether we were gonna work on it or not, but leave it on there?
Yeah, I thought so.
Right, right.
I had that on my list.
Right, yeah, I was kind of including that in the discussion
And
about
Libby.
the
Oh, okay,
17.
of Libby, okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
Right, right.
That's what I
That's
had on
what I
my list.
got. Did I miss anything?
No,
Okay.
feels big.
Already, that's great.
All right, that's it.
Done.
All right, thanks. Adjourn.
There are so many good